Boa tarde a todos e todas. Bem-vindos à primeira edição de 2022 online dos Fóruns Permanentes da Unicamp. O evento de hoje traz para o centro do debate projetos integrados verticalmente, uma forma de unir as 4 missões da universidade. Os Fóruns Permanentes são transmitidos ao vivo pelo canal do YouTube. Os Fóruns Permanentes são eventos interdisciplinares realizados pela Pró-Reitoria de Extensão e Cultura da Unicamp. A organização desse fórum está a cargo da Faculdade de Ciências Aplicadas da Unicamp. Para compor a abertura desse evento, convidamos o professor Dr. Fernando Antônio Santos Coelho, Pró-Reitor de Extensão e Cultura da Unicamp. Professora doutora Milena Pavan Serafim, diretora associada da Faculdade de Ciências Aplicadas da Unicamp. Professor doutor Cristiano Morini, docente da Faculdade de Ciências Aplicadas da Unicamp e organizador desse fórum. Convidamos para fazer uso da palavra o professor doutor Cristiano Morini.
Olá, boa tarde. Eu gostaria de saudar os organizadores do Fórum Permanente. Gostaria de agradecer a presença do professor Dr. Fernando Coelho, pró-reitor de Extensão e Cultura, e em nome do qual eu cumprimento os demais participantes. Quando debatemos o papel da universidade e das suas missões, nós temos muitos lados a relatar. De uma certa forma, esse pluralismo faz lembrar o sábio indiano Mahavira. Mahavira falava dos muitos lados da verdade, e esse conceito foi difundido por meio de uma parábola muito antiga, que foi popularizada no século XIX com um poema de um poeta americano, chamado de Parábola dos Cegos e do Elefante. Nessa parábola, 6 pessoas cegas tentam apalpar um animal que nunca tinham visto antes, um elefante, e então tentam fazer afirmações sobre o que apalpam. Cada um apalpa uma parte e entende poder definir o todo pela existência de uma parte do todo. E todos acham que detêm a verdade. Essa história foi utilizada por Gandhi em uma jornada pela não violência e ajudou a cultivar empatia nas pessoas, para que pudesse entender o lado do outro, né, a versão do outro. É saudável também poder ajudar a resolver conflitos ou emprestá-la aqui, de uma certa forma, para a nossa ideia de unir as missões da universidade. Quando estamos no ensino, na pesquisa, na extensão, estamos desenvolvendo a missão da universidade. Mas o ensino não reflete o todo, a pesquisa não reflete o todo, a extensão não reflete o todo. É a integração do ensino, da pesquisa, da extensão, da internacionalização, como 4ª missão, que reflete o papel da universidade. E dessa forma, vamos apresentar nos dias de hoje e amanhã uma proposta de integração das 4 missões e, ao mesmo tempo, um convite para todos que quiserem implementar essa proposta em suas unidades ou instituições de ensino superior. E essa proposta se chama Projetos Integrados, aí novamente a palavra integração, verticalmente. Esses projetos integrados verticalmente recebem a sigla VIP, em inglês, e a pergunta que motivou a implantação dessa metodologia, de fato, é como integrar as várias missões da universidade, né? Os projetos VIP, eles são uma iniciativa interdisciplinar, trabalhando com projetos, mão na massa, com elevado índice de engajamento de docentes e estudantes na proposição de possíveis soluções e problemas de interesse da comunidade. É uma forma da universidade se engajar com esses problemas. E os problemas são essencialmente interdisciplinares e a grande maioria deles são problemas complexos, em sintonia com os Objetivos do Desenvolvimento Sustentável da ONU, na Agenda 2030, né? A abordagem do VIP trata de enfocar esses problemas complexos. E esse problema complexo, ou também em inglês é tratado como wicked problem, é um problema multicausal, envolvendo múltiplos interessados, conectado a outros tipos de problemas, e no qual cada solução tem ramificações em todo o sistema. As soluções não são certas ou erradas, mas viáveis ou não, e a avaliação das soluções podem levar muito tempo, já que os problemas nunca são completamente resolvidos e não existe uma fórmula definitiva, única, para uma solução de um problema complexo. E a universidade faz parte desse ecossistema, né, de mudança e de inovação. E a inovação a gente pode ver em diversos tipos de impactos, né? Um deles é na ciência propriamente dita, no impacto intelectual, o impacto na economia, o impacto na sociedade. E aí vem a proposta de desenvolvermos esses projetos integrados verticalmente, em consonância com essa agenda 2030, e incluindo alguns dos objetivos do desenvolvimento sustentável da ONU. Então, com isso, nós vamos iniciar o evento hoje com 4 dessas 40 instituições de 15 países, e nós vamos conhecer a realidade da instituição que começou isso, na Georgia Tech, nos Estados Unidos, depois numa universidade da Escócia, depois na Universidade Maior do Chile, e depois na Colômbia. E amanhã nós vamos tratar propriamente da nossa experiência aqui na Unicamp. Obrigado.
Convidamos para fazer uso da palavra o professor Dr. Fernando Coelho, pró-reitor de Extensão e Cultura da Unicamp.
Boa tarde, Sônia, boa tarde, professor Cristiano, boa tarde, professora Milena. Eu gostaria, em nome da PROEC, de saudar a todos e também saudar todos os participantes. Desejar também boas-vindas aos participantes estrangeiros que vão participar do evento. E é um grande prazer para a Pró-Reitoria de Extensão e Cultura poder participar da abertura do primeiro evento do ano, né? Que é um evento que traz uma proposta extremamente interessante de projetos verticalmente integrados verticalmente, uma forma de unir as 4 missões da universidade. Na verdade, eu concordo com a fala que foi feita pelo professor Cristiano, que, na verdade, é difícil realmente achar que a universidade ela só tem uma faceta, né? Ela, na verdade, é multifacetada, e todas as interações e todas as atividades fins da universidade, elas são extremamente interrelacionadas, né? E é óbvio que a gente não faz pesquisa sem ensino, a gente não compartilha os resultados da universidade e a busca de solução para os problemas brasileiros, da sociedade brasileira, sem envolver a extensão. Então, estamos todos juntos nisso. E a inclusão do 4º item, que seria a internacionalização, acaba, na verdade, lançando um grande desafio e, obviamente, experiências que vão na direção de integrar todas essas ações, ensino, pesquisa, extensão e internacionalização, são extremamente importantes, e eu, particularmente, vou ficar muito atento, na medida do possível que a minha agenda permitir, a alguns desses temas que vão ser discutidos no seminário, porque, do ponto de vista institucional, muito dessas coisas nos interessam. Então, eu gostaria de parabenizar a todas as pessoas que fazem parte da organização do evento, desejar uma boa sorte, um bom evento para todos, e desejar, na verdade, que o resultado desse evento possa ser muito produtivo e muito importante, né, para a universidade como um todo. Então, boa tarde e bom evento para todos, e sejam bem-vindos ao primeiro evento dos Fóruns Permanentes de 2022. Muito obrigado.
Obrigada, professor. Professora Milena. Professora Milena, dá uma palavrinha, então, por favor.
Muito obrigada, Sônia. Boa tarde a todas e todos. Cumprimento aí, primeiramente, o professor Fernando Coelho e os meus colegas, né, organizadores deste evento, o professor Cristiano, o professor Aníbal e o professor Edmundo. Sem dúvida, né, como o próprio professor Fernando estava colocando, essa é uma temática não só importante, como todos nós, né, docentes, estudantes, dirigentes de instituições de ensino superior sabemos, mas ela é, vamos dizer assim, a porta de entrada, né, para que a gente possa ressignificar os nossos currículos, o processo formativo dos nossos alunos, dos nossos estudantes, dos nossos cursos, e assim possamos, então, ter, né, profissionais que, a partir do ensino compromissado, integrado, né, aí contando com estudantes de pós-graduação e graduação, que olham para diversos problemas, interagem com outros contextos, sejam latino-americanos, sejam europeu, norte-americano, que possam aí elaborar, possam construir, né, novos conhecimentos, soluções que estejam, vamos dizer assim, capacitados o suficiente para enfrentar os nossos problemas, né? Essa temática, bom, como o próprio professor Morini já discorreu e apresentou, é uma temática que foi colocada pelos docentes da casa, que aqui organizaram esse evento, né? E vem muito ao encontro das nossas expectativas enquanto ciências aplicadas, né? Então, a nossa unidade aqui, em nome da FCA, do professor Márcio, do meu nome, mas de todos os colegas, é com muita satisfação que a gente acolhe esse evento, né? Não só o evento, mas a experiência do VIP. E aqui parabenizo os colegas por terem, nos últimos anos, trabalhado nessa temática. Sem dúvida, estaremos muito atentos, né, aí às falas dos colegas que virão, com experiências de outras universidades, para que a gente possa, né, beber dessa fonte, desse conhecimento e impulsionar aqui na própria FCA, na própria Unicamp, experiências para além dessas que estão sendo desenvolvidas aqui pela nossa própria unidade, outras experiências, né, que a gente possa beber dessas fontes aí que virão de outras, vamos dizer assim, com outros enlaces, né, e, quiçá, impulsionar ainda mais o VIP aqui dentro da FCA e da Unicamp. Então, eu parabenizo aí a vocês, os organizadores, e desejo também um excelente evento, né, a todos, e que possamos ter, ao longo desses 2 dias, boas discussões. Muito obrigada.
Obrigada, professora Milena. Bem, dando sequência aos trabalhos da tarde, convidamos o professor Dr. Cristiano Morini para moderar a mesa 1, intitulada Projetos Integrados Verticalmente, Conceituação, Pesquisa com Educação, Fatos e Números. Boa tarde a todos e todas.
Obrigado, Sônia e equipe. Eu agradeço também a professora doutora Milena Serafim, a nossa vice-diretora da Faculdade de Ciências Aplicadas, e o professor doutor Fernando Coelho, também o nosso pró-reitor da Unicamp. Então, a partir de agora, eu vou convidar chamar os nossos convidados estrangeiros e nós vamos fazer uma mudança aqui no idioma, né? Okay, I would like to present our friends from Georgia Tech, and I will start with Professor Eddie Cole, as professor, director, distinguished professor. He is Research Alliance eminent scholar, and he is from the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering. And I would like to present also Julia Sonnenberg-Klein, is the Assistant Director of VIP Programs. So we can share, the floor is yours. Professor Ed and Julie, please.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's great to see you again, even though it's virtual. And hope to visit again sometime soon. I'd just like to say it's been great to work with you and the other professors to start up VIP at Unicamp. Okay, I'll try to share my screen now. Window. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, thanks.
Okay, fantastic. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be talking with all of you about the VIP program. And whenever you have any questions about it, feel free to contact Chris or Julie or me. We're always happy to help because we think this is a great program and it creates opportunities for all students and all professors. Okay, so it's vertically integrated projects, and that's our logo, VIP. And the ladder is meant to indicate that we have freshmen, sophomore, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, graduate students, postdocs, and faculty, potentially on every single team. It's not required that every team have grad students, but it actually helps the team function better. Okay, so I'm Ed Coyle, as Chris said. I'm the director, and Julie is the associate director, and also leads the education research on VIP, which a lot of it is posted on the VIP website. And she'll talk about some of that today. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Julie to talk about stakeholder needs. Julie, we can't hear you. Actually, I think I'll just change seats with her.
Ed, he didn't have the presentation.
That'd be great. I'll be right back.
Okay, we're so sorry. We're playing tag team with computers. So the first thing we wanted to talk about is stakeholder needs, because that's the root of what VIP is doing. So the first need is that institutions need scalable and affordable high-impact experiences. And I don't know if that's a term that's used outside of the United States, but in the States, high-impact experiences are experiences that are associated with higher graduation rates and also greater learning gains in college. The challenge with these is that they're cost limiting and they're pretty energy intensive. And then employers want to have graduates out of the universities that have good teamwork and leadership skills, agility, adaptability, resilience. And faculty want to be working on ambitious, large-scale projects. And often faculty need access to expertise from other disciplines, but it can be hard for a professor to recruit students from other departments. And then students want faculty mentors. The faculty want to be working with the students, and the students want the faculty mentors. And they want to be working on interesting projects that are bigger than what they've been learning in class, and they want to connect their work with real-world experiences. So one possible solution is undergraduate research. Undergraduate research is a high-impact practice. It's been extensively researched, but some challenges with it are that it can't serve all students with one-to-one mentorship. If you have one professor mentoring only 1 or 3 students, then a lot of students go unserved. Another option are paid experiences, but those are cost limiting. You can't pay every student to be doing undergraduate research. Another option is course-based undergraduate research experiences, or CURES. But these require substantial planning, time, and resources to prepare these things. And so it's a concerted effort. So a solution that is a little easier to launch is vertically integrated projects. So this is a picture of one of our team. We try to sprinkle these throughout the presentations. And it's the robotic human augmentation team. And this is just a small part of this team. This person actually has 60 students on his team. He's really put a lot of energy into mentoring his graduate students, and then they mentor the students on the team along with him. So Ed, I think that we want to hand this off to you now. So we're going to swap seats.
Thanks, Julie. So now I'll talk about the VIP model and how it addresses a lot of the issues that Julie was mentioning. And it's actually fairly simple. It looks a lot like the way companies work. So the teams are led by faculty, and faculty member requests to have a team that will work with them in their research area or their design project or whatever their creative project happens to be. And so the team is embedded in your work. The teams are large. This is what makes it pretty unique in terms of higher education. typically 10 to 20 or more students per team. Our largest team actually has 70 students on it. And they're all vertically integrated. So this is a picture of my team from about 6-7 years ago, and it's still in operation. Different students, of course, because we let them graduate. And so there are sophomores, juniors, seniors. Here are 2 of my PhD students on the right. And that team has been around now for 21 years. So the key is the team actually helps with the faculty members' research, and so what they do benefits you. It must be curricular, so that way every student can participate, even those who have to work to pay tuition or have family responsibilities or other circumstances that would prevent them from doing extracurricular or co-curricular activities. And so it's 1 to 2 credits per semester, where a typical 1 credit or typical 1 semester long course here in the US, for example, would be 3 credits. So it's about half a course per semester. And every student is graded A, B, C, D, F. And there's no pass fail, no auditing, because otherwise the team dynamics do not work well. And then this is the other key, is the students participate for multiple semesters, earning 1 or 2 credits each of those semesters. And the returning students are actually the core for your team. They help mentor the new students, which means that you and your graduate students aren't doing that. And as the longer they're on the team, the more responsibility they take for organizing things and for leading parts of the team. So the last part, the fact that they help manage the team, is really important. And we can look later at the list of VIP teams. We have 84 of them here at Georgia Tech, and they cover campus in terms of topics. And we have advisors and students from around campus. So the key for how it works is these are ambitious, large-scale projects that are embedded in your activities, whether it's research or something creative or design, whatever you want to do. Because if the team benefits you, you'll stick with the team. And there's time for the students to learn over multiple semesters. And we'll show results later on that shows how they develop and apply their leadership skills. And finally, because these are big teams with students from different years, you get great peer-to-peer learning, mentoring, and leadership that occurs within the team, which helps the students develop good professional skills. VIP, because the teams are large, not only does it allow you to have students from different years, but you can have students from different disciplines on the team. That's another thing that really sets it apart from other programs. So the graph that you're looking at here, each vertical bar is a VIP team, and the height of the bar is the number of students on the team. So this team actually has 76 students on it. This one has 60. The average size team is about 17 students, which is actually what our student-faculty ratio is here at Georgia Tech. So this is scalable. Potentially every student could be on a VIP team here. And perhaps even more important, the colors that you see are defined here on the right. Those are all the disciplines that are participating in VIP. And as you can see from the colorful nature of each one of these bars, every team is actually multidisciplinary. And so that's one of the real attractions for faculty, because you can do projects that require expertise from different disciplines. Here at Georgia Tech, we started VIP in spring of 2009. It grew steadily until we realized we had to develop some software tools to help it scale. Once we had that done, we opened up the doors again for faculty to ask to have teams. And this is our history since then. We have 1,504 students enrolled this semester on 82 VIP teams. And there was a little bit of a glitch as COVID started and things shut down on campus, but we've already recovered from that and passed that peak. And now Julie will talk with you about the impact of VIP.
Hello again. So this is another picture of a VIP team. This one is from Virginia Commonwealth University. It's a collaborative unmanned aerial vehicle team. I think that the most exciting outcome of VIP is that we are seeing differences in job placement rates for students. So the gold bar are VIP participants, and the blue bar is VIP students who didn't participate in VIP. So we know that co-op students, co-op is a program that we have where students do an internship with a company for 3 semesters, where they do an internship, they do a semester with the company, and then they go to school and then a semester with the company. And so we know from experience that those students have very high job placement rates. And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just that VIP was attracting co-op students and that was inflating our numbers. So we looked at the job placement rate for co-op and non-co-op students. And for co-op students, even though there's a slightly higher rate for VIP students, it's not statistically significant. But for non-co-op students, it is significant. There's an 8.1% difference between co-op and non-co-op. So VIP seems to be filling some gaps in there, and we're doing research on understanding what pieces of VIP are helping those students find jobs. So another evaluation that we did is the Georgia Institute of Technology did an analysis of exit surveys. And so students across campus complete these surveys right when they graduate. And in the analysis, they found that students who participated in VIP reported that their Georgia Tech education contributed more to their ability to work with individuals from diverse backgrounds, more to their ability to work in multidisciplinary teams, and more to their understanding of technologies relevant to their field. So we were very happy to see those findings, but we wanted to dig deeper and see if we could find things within VIP that explained those findings, because we have anecdotal stories, but we wanted to kind of look at it a little more closely. So we did an analysis, we did a couple of analyses of peer evaluations. One of the analyses was a social network analysis where we looked at who students were interacting with. And we found that students within their VIP teams were interacting more often with students of other races and ethnicities, and that within their teams, students were interacting more often with students from other majors. So that means that students weren't coming in and having all of the mechanical engineering students cluster and all of the computer engineering students cluster. They really were crossing disciplinary boundaries. And in another analysis, we looked at leadership and technical growth, and we found that there were measurable gains there as well. And that is what these slides are. These are charts of students' ratings of their classmates on their classmates' coordination of the team's work. So how much of that they were doing. And what we found was that there is definitely growth over time. We did the analysis by academic rank. Sophomore, that's a second-year student in the States. Junior is a third-year student, and senior is a fourth-year student. And what you see is that first semester students that are shown in blue are performing at about the same level. And then the second semester, you see an increase, and then third semester, you see another increase. And it levels off after the third semester, which is acceptable. There's only so much work you can coordinate within your team. But this confirmed what professors were seeing within their team, that students were really stepping up and taking on leadership responsibilities. And this is why faculty can lead such large teams, because students are taking some of that burden off of the faculty. And this is wonderful workforce development for the students, because they can work with others, they can coordinate things, they deal with conflict, and yes, it's a very rich experience. So we wanted to look at another aspect of leadership, which is not everyone is going to be a leader where they're coordinating things, but some students become technical experts on their team. So even if they're not leading a sub-team, they might be the person that everyone goes to for help or for guidance or for explanations on things. And for this, we saw similar growth over time. We actually saw a stronger correlation between first students and less correlation with academic rank, because they're all at the exact same level for sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And there was slightly less plateauing at the top, although it's still the third semester and beyond is not statistically significant from each other. But yes, so we're seeing growth in multiple areas. Now, before we jump into how an institution would launch a VIP program, we were interested in understanding how your universities handle undergraduate research currently, or before you established a VIP program, because we found that there are very different in higher education cultures throughout the world. In some countries, students can only do undergraduate research once they're in their fourth year. In some countries, professors only work with students in their classes. You know, they're not working with students outside of their class. So we wanted to see if you are willing to type into the chat box how it's handled at your institution. Do you have a central office? How do students find professors? How do professors find students to work with? And what year can the students work on it? And I know there will be a lag between typing things in, and then since we only speak English, it will have to be translated for us, so you don't have to type in English for us. And then our moderators will share the comments with us. And so we'll present a little bit more about the VIP model, and then we'll come back to the question and see if there were any responses. And I'm going to hand this off to Ed now.
Hello again. And what we'll talk about now is what's involved in establishing a VIP program on your campus. And Chris can certainly answer this for Unicamp and talk about how they did it there. This is more of a general how-to for VIP. This, by the way, is another VIP team. This one's at the University of Pretoria, and they design aircraft to monitor wildlife to prevent poaching. And so the key elements of VIP, that's what you're aiming to replicate. And the reason we list these is these are the things that we have found actually work. And what I like to tell people is the reason we are valuable to all of you is that we've learned the hard way what doesn't work. So we can prevent you from going down the wrong path. So these are things that we know work. So the projects should be embedded in faculty members' research, creation, and exploration activities. So we don't create teams, for example, at the request of industry or some other group. They should be long-term and large-scale. Long-term means the project should last for a minimum of 3 or 4 years. My own team is now 21 years old. And large-scale, we usually start each team with 6 to 10 students just to make it manageable. And then the team grows to whatever size works best for it in the subsequent semesters and years. And some of them end up being very big, and some of them, stabilize around the average of 17. And faculty and student participation are both based on mutual interest. So faculty announce their team, and students who are interested in that team sign up to join it. Multidisciplinary teams are encouraged because they actually make the team more productive for you, but they're not required. In fact, initially, oftentimes the teams and projects are located in one discipline until VIP spreads naturally to other disciplines. Courses and curricula. Program must be curricular. It's offered for credit, and students are graded each semester. The credits should count towards their degree requirements, and then the students should be able to participate and earn credits towards their degree for 2 or more years. So this ensures the long-term participation of students, which is when they both learn a lot and contribute a lot. And again, students are graded, and the learning outcomes within VIP focus on both their disciplinary and professional skills. And finally, especially for some of the larger teams, it's important that there be space for them to meet. So these are not normal classrooms. If you have a team of 20 or 70, you may need a big room in which to meet. So we have here at Georgia Tech, for our 1,500 students and 82 teams, we have 3 dedicated spaces that teams can sign up for to meet. Okay, so that's sort of the basics of what VIP is, key elements. And we wanted to see if anybody had any questions so far. And again, this is the repeat of the questions.
You might need to click on that screen to see if they're typing anything in.
Ah, okay. Private chat.
Yes, we don't see any questions, so we can move on.
Okay, I don't hear any questions. We'll stop again at the end of the talk to answer any questions you have. Okay, so in terms of establishing a VIP program, it's important that you find somebody on campus who wants to be the champion, especially if you can find administrative supporters for it. So Chris was the champion at Unicamp. So finding a champion and recruiting the initial instructors are important. For courses, instituting grading, understanding how the grading process works, and being able to create or repurpose courses so you can launch the program. And then finally, how to do enrollment management for the teams. You need to develop policies within each department that's participating on how VIP credits count towards their students' degrees. And again, this can start in one department and spread to other departments. And recruiting instructors. This is important because these are the folks who are going to start your initial set of teams. And it's natural to look for instructors who haven't had some experience working with undergraduates in the past, or have large-scale projects in which they know they need some help. And finally, recruiting students. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we've seen VIP start up in different ways at different institutions. In some cases, it may be led by a high-level administrator, a dean, or a university president or provost. That's what happened at Boise State and Texas A&M. There are other places where it started up at the college level. This was true for Hawaii, Michigan, Washington, Virginia Commonwealth in the US. And then there are still others where it was some individual faculty in one department that started it. So, but all these, we've seen all these approaches succeed. The one that kind of spreads the fastest is obviously the one that starts at the highest level. But we've seen significant success with programs that start at the individual department level and then spread across campus. There does need to be an administrator or director who's in charge of VIP, and it's important that that person be a professor in some department and have a team of their own so they actually live the experience and can talk with other VIP advisors. And the professor who's leading the program does need, and the professors who are advising teams, they do need support of the director and the administrators in the department. So these are the courses at Georgia Tech that underline VIP. And before I go through them, I want to mention that we just threw together some special projects courses in the beginning that were just within ECE, which is my home department. So you do whatever it takes to get it started. And then once you've got it established, then it's easier to go to the administration and ask for something like what I'm going to show you next. So the set of courses I'm going to show you we arrived at after about 7 years here at Georgia Tech. So your final goal should be campus-wide subject code like VIP. So all of our courses are listed here. These are the course numbers, but the label in front is VIP, not electrical engineering or English or public policy. And this makes it easy for students in different disciplines to enroll in the program. And so our courses start at the sophomore, second year, third year, fourth year, graduate level. And the last digit is the number of credits per semester that a student can sign up for. So a sophomore could take this course twice. First semester is second year student, second semester is a second year student. But limited for 1 credit because they're primarily learning about the team. Within each year, there is an option for them to be paid. So it's 0 credits because they can't be paid and be earning credit at the same time. And I like to use this one because these are for students who've been on my team for a long time, are very, very good, but can't put any more of the VIP credits towards their degree. So at that point, I'll use my research funds to pay them hourly because I claim that students who are in 4602 and 4600 are actually functioning at a graduate level. And then each team is the same section. For this team, it's VP1. My team is VP3. It's the same section in every one of these courses. So in your course management system, everybody on your team shows up together, which makes it easy to keep things organized. So this is the end goal, something like this in mind. But you do whatever it takes to get there. Temporary course numbers, repurpose existing courses like undergrad research courses, whatever works on your campus. And again, the structure of each course, 1 to 2 credits. Courses at all levels. We have courses at the graduate level as well. So a lot of non-thesis master's students can take 6 credits of VIP that count towards their master's degree. And And again, teams are identified by section number. And one of the reasons we did what you see on the right here is it was initially suggested to us that each department have their own set of VIP courses using the department label, and then just cross-list them for all the students from different disciplines who are on the same team. Well, that becomes a nightmare, as we'll see in this example. If you have 5 departments participating in VIP, and there are 12 course numbers for each team, then that's 60 courses that would have to be created at the university just to support VIP in 5 departments. And then if you tried to cross-list them all, you can do the combinatorics. That's 240 different cross-listings. Well, I think we have 20 departments?
Yes.
We have 20 departments participating and 84 teams. So this number would end up being huge. So you want something that works across campus. Don't try course listing. And then the instructor view of courses, you have 1 meeting time per week. It's usually an hour long where you meet with the whole team, and the sub-teams or individual students report on their results. You'll have students in your meeting from multiple courses, but with the same section number. And also the teams tend to be organized into sub-teams that are working on specific parts of the project. On my team, for instance, there are typically sub-teams of 6 to 8 out of the total of 25 students that are typically on my team. And they have separate meetings, which I drop in on sometimes, or my graduate students participate in. And then if the class size is regulated, then the administration will need to understand that, because you may only have 4 students in 3601, and a course like that would normally be canceled. But for VIP, those 4 count towards a larger team of, say, 24 or 25. And the grading framework. This is really important to get right, and it's what I think is probably our main contribution as we develop VIP, was how we grade students, so you know that you're assigning them the appropriate grade. So we grade them twice a semester, middle of the semester, and then at the end of the semester. And the mid-semester grading is especially important for students who are on the team for the first time, because it's usually the first time they've experienced anything like this, and they're a little anxious about what the grading's like. So we do it mid-semester. The grading components, there are 3 of them, and they're equally weighted. So teamwork, their contributions to your project, and the documentation of what they do and what the team does. And so we look at all 3 of these. And for contributions, that's really your own observations, and maybe those of the graduate students or most senior members of the team, about whether each student is helping to move the project forward. And yes, that is subjective, but it's just like how you would evaluate your own PhD students. Then for documentation, there are individual journals. Every student maintains a journal about everything that they do, thoughts that they have. Team documentation, like we use wikis, GitHub for software, things like that. But what we tell the students at the beginning of each semester is that if you did not document it, then you did not do it. And because we rely on that, we've never had a great appeal within VIP. Then finally, to make sure that as an advisor, you know what's going on in your team, we have a very nice peer evaluation system available either via spreadsheet or we have an online one that gives you insight into how the team is working. And what I like to use those for is to make sure that what I think is happening on the team is what the students think is happening on the team. So then I know I'm grading accurately. And so for enrollment management for VIP, you have to remember that each team needs a balance of different majors, and the majors that each team is seeking are listed in the description of the team. A balance of academic ranks, 2nd, 3rd, 4th year grad student, and you always admit returning students to the team, and you figure out how many new students you want to add to keep the team at full size each semester. And the way we limit team enrollment to make sure we get the right size team and with the right mix of students is the students apply to join a team. and then we issue them permits to actually register for the team. So it's a permit-based system. So students apply, once approved, VIP issues the permits. And this is one of the most time-consuming parts of VIP, is creating the policies for how VIP credits count. And Julie will talk about this.
So this is another analysis that we did on the VIP program, and we were interested in how the policies affected whether or not students came back for that second or third or fourth semester. So what we found was that there was definitely a difference between the policies. And I won't dig into the specifics of which policy is which, but clearly this policy has a much higher return rate than this one. And this analysis is from a few years ago, and this policy now has a higher return rate even than they did before. But what we found was that higher persistence is associated with threshold policies and kind of turnkey policies. A threshold policy is where if a student gets 5 or fewer credits, then those credits just count as free electives. And so students don't generally need a lot of free electives, so they're less interested in that. But when the student earns that 6th credit, then that makes the credits more valuable to the student. Either all 6 count as in major electives, which is how it works in biomedical engineering at Georgia Tech, or they count as a blend of half free electives and half in major electives. Another option is capstone, where you have students participate in VIP, and maybe the credits count as free electives or in major electives, but then they can roll their VIP project into their capstone project. And then the highest return rate we have is for a multi-semester design sequence. And it's kind of like the capstone one, but it's a junior design sequence. And in computer science, the students can choose between a few options that are multiple semesters, and VIP is one of those options. So the student joins the team, and they're already, from the first semester, they're making progress toward that junior design sequence. And so the students end up earning 5 credits in VIP. First 1 credit, then 2, then 2. And then an interesting adaptation of VIP is the Pretoria model. Pretoria is in South Africa. And there they have very rigid curricula. Every class is prescribed. Students don't really have free electives at all. And so VIP wouldn't really work within their curriculum. And so what they did is that at Pretoria, the students are required to do some kind of work experience. It's an internship or research with a professor or something along those lines. So they allow VIP to fulfill that required work experience. And so that's how it can count toward the student's degree requirements, even though it isn't carrying academic credit. And then Ed, I will let you take over for the instructors.
Okay, thanks. And I think you're probably all wondering what sort of credit do you get for advising a VIP team. First, I'd just like to say that remember that the team is actually supporting your research work, which goes directly to promotion and tenure issues. So they are helping you succeed directly. It's not like a regular class. This, by the way, is a VIP team here at Georgia Tech. This one has, I think, 60 students on it this semester, and they develop a wide variety of prostheses for people with disabilities, and also to enhance people in certain employment situations. So teaching credit and release time. So we've seen a variety of models, even across Georgia Tech, for how faculty are, how professors are rewarded for advising a VIP team. And these are sort of in order from essentially no credit to the most credit. One is no release time. So you never get release time from a course. VIP doesn't count as a course. And the thinking there by the department is that it's advancing your research, so that's the reward for you. This also may not be an option in institutions with very heavy teaching loads. Next to that, the next one up is focused on the first 2 years, because that's when you're, if you want to think of it this way, bringing your team up to speed. So you're spending a lot of time educating the first group of students. Then the second semester, they learn how to educate the new students who join that semester. And so you're building up that process within the team until you have a fully mature team, which is usually by the 3rd or 4th semester. And then after that, it's wonderful because the team runs itself. You just have to make sure the processes are taking place. So to reward faculty for the effort in the first 2 years, some departments will give them credit for teaching one course per academic year for each of the first 2 years. One of the most generous is, or the most generous, is actually allowing the faculty member to count VIP as one course per academic year, which is, it's about right, because it takes about half the time to teach a regular course to actually advise your team. And in terms of the number of students, it's equivalent to an upper level course. So on my team, it's typically anywhere from 30 to 35 students per year, and they're earning academic credit. So this is actually fair, but it's not scalable, because if every professor had a VIP team, there wouldn't be enough people left over to teach all the regular courses. So a compromise, sort of between 2 and 3, is to say, for the first 2 years, you get released from teaching one regular course as you're bringing your VIP team up to speed. Then after that, depending on the departmental policy for things like senior design or senior theses that you might be supervising, you do a certain number of them. So maybe every 2 or 3 years, you get released from a course. And this is scalable. It allows a large number, it allows your department to budget for the creation of a certain number of VIP teams each year. Then the VIP director, this is really important because their activities include going around talking with all the departments about credit for students and credit for faculty and creating courses and things like that. So the director must have release time of at least one course per year. And in places where there are heavy teaching loads, it should really be one course per semester. So this is essentially an administrative position. Now for recruiting instructors, we don't require this of anybody. It's all voluntary. We only create teams when faculty come by and ask to have a team. The selling points from the point of view of faculty is that it's easy access to students from your own department and other departments. It enables much larger scale, longer term projects with undergraduate help that actually benefit your research. And that's good for the undergraduates, and it's good for you. In fact, a lot of professors look at VIP as the perfect recruiting ground for their future graduate students. Also, because the students are earning academic credit, they're essentially free. You just have to run your team well. And so it's a low-risk setting in which to try out new ideas or to explore an extension of your research that you haven't had time to look at. And if they're for research proposals, it addresses if there's an education requirement for a research proposal. This is perfect for the educational component. And for instance, here in the US, NSF really likes seeing VIP participation in the research that's being proposed to them. So the low-hanging fruit, in other words, the faculty that are easiest to recruit first, are those who've already been working with undergrads in some way, and those who could really benefit, whose research could really benefit from having students from other majors. And so what we typically do here is one of us will go in and talk to all the professors in a department at a faculty meeting, tell them what VIP is, how it works, and then ask them to contact us if they would like to have a team. And that always generates at least two or three initial teams in a department, and then it grows from there. And finally, there's a team information sheet that lists the goals, methods, and majors, and that's what's actually displayed for students to see to decide which team they want to join. And the key is that each team has to last at least 3 years, and the project description needs to be general enough to last multiple years, but it can evolve along with your research over time. And so what we find is faculty stay engaged. I think I'm probably the best example of this. My team is now 21 years old. This is the longevity of teams here at Georgia Tech. So you can see how we start a regular number of new teams each semester. And then the length of the blue line is how long they've been running. And to keep this all on one screen, this line actually goes all the way back to spring of 2009 for some of these teams. And, there were occasional interruptions. This team went idle during COVID and then started back up again. So we were really happy to see that. So plan on having your team. They become a real part of your research effort. And for recruiting students?
I can cover that.
I can cover that? Okay. All right. So Julie's done some research on this along with Julia Melkers here at Georgia Tech. And what they found is that the best predictor of success on a team is not a student's GPA. It's not how they did in an interview. It's not based on prerequisites or anything else. The only thing that matters is their enthusiasm for your project. If they're really enthusiastic about it, they will do a good job. And so don't screen. You're wasting your time if you screen by GPA or interviews. And in fact, you're probably turning away some of the students who would be best on your team. And so when we admit students, we only ask them, what academic year they are, what rank, second, third, fourth year graduate student, how many credits they want, and why they want to join the team. And that's a little comment box. And so for students of the same discipline, same year, same number of credits, we compare why they want to be on the team. And if one sort of left it blank and the other one said, I've been wanting to do this for my entire life, it's pretty clear which one you would choose to be on your team. And so for recruiting students, what helps is they know that it fulfills degree requirements. There are online team listings, so they don't have to go around and knock on faculty members' doors. They just look online to see which team they'd like to join. It's sort of a rolling first come, first serve application process until the team fills up, and then we mark it as full. And if anybody still wants to join that team, they have to wait to the next semester to join, or they can join another team. So it's a very low stress application. And we do proactive recruiting. We send out emails letting everybody know that VIP is recruiting. Those are targeted to different majors, and sometimes down to individual team level. And as we said, enthusiasm is the strongest predictor. Equity, we found that we have here at Georgia Tech representative enrollment of minoritized students. In other words, same fraction of, say, African-American students in VIP as in the overall student population.
Sorry, that's duplicate.
That's a duplicate.
Yeah, this is.
Okay, so community and resources. So this is the set of all VIP sites around the world. And so this is Unicamp here. And there are 2 VIP sites in Chile. This is Hawaii. It's not a ship out in the ocean. And then a growing presence in Europe and the Middle East now. This is University of Pretoria. This will be American University in Cairo, University of New South Wales. And what's really nice is we all work together to study and improve VIP. So you have a big community to draw on, where there's probably somebody who's run into the same problem that you're having, and you can talk with them about how they resolved it and make it easier for yourself. And so our goal, as stated on the right here, is really to enable everybody, every student, and every professor to have access to VIP. And that's the actual listing of universities around the world. So you're joining a giant community if you start a VIP program. And the other thing that we have to talk about too is how accreditors view VIP. Well, that is certainly not a problem. If we look at engineering, for example, ABET is the primary accreditor in the US and many other countries for engineering and computing and some other fields. And they like VIP so much because of the multidisciplinary, large-scale, long-term teams that we won the ABET 2019 Innovation Award. And as different VIP sites, Howard University, New York University, have gone through renewal of their ABET accreditation, these are the comments that they're getting from the ABET visitors. And so basically, the VIP teams offer early exposure to the design process. Students benefit from informal mentoring from other students, and the program greatly enhances the engineering experience. And at NYU, they announced that VIP was the #1 institutional strength for NYU. And so for VIP consortium activities, we have an annual meeting. The one this year is we're in person again after being online for a couple of years. So it's here in Atlanta, and on May 26th and 27th, if any of you are interested in attending, let us know. We are putting together a VIP site handbook that has all sorts of tips and hints and examples for what to do as you start your VIP program. And our current goal is to take our grading and peer evaluation tools, which we've refined over many, many years here at Georgia Tech, and make them available to all other universities by putting them up in the cloud. And then almost every VIP team you know of has tracks partners. These are companies or other organizations that come in and look through the list of VIP teams and say, wow, this team is doing something that's really relevant to us. We'd like to get to know them and to partner with them. And they also look at it as workforce development because they find motivated, team-oriented students that are working on something of interest to that organization. And they're students from diverse backgrounds and majors, and they have real depth and real professional experience in the field. So we find people coming to partner with teams because they want to hire the students. And now this is very Georgia Tech specific. It probably will look different at each university. But we've formalized the giving opportunities. This is for companies in particular to support student activities on the team, $20,000 a year. To support the program, $40,000 a year. And then we have an annual VIP innovation competition. So teams kind of compete with each other to see who's got the neatest ideas. And the annual consortium meeting. We always look for sponsors for that too. So while we're waiting to see if anybody has questions, what I will do is pull up the list of VIP teams.
And it might be sharing only that PowerPoint screen. So
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'll have to stop sharing and then restart. Well, let me pull up. I will pull up the webpage first. But if people have questions, please. Yeah. Oh, it's full screen. VIP teams. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to. Okay. Hi, Chris. So I'm going to stop sharing at the moment and then share my browser. Let's see,
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There is one question here is regards the how about students what about the receptivity of the students in general about the VIP programs?
I think we have never had trouble filling up every single team that starts. So there's definitely sufficient demand, and we certainly have not run out of students so far. And I think one of the ways to make that point is if you can see my browser here. Can you see that?
No.
Let's see.
Well, we could just tell people what the URL is. It's an easy URL.
Okay. So if everybody would like to take a look at the list of teams, I'll put the URL in the.
I think that's a private chat. I don't think
That's a private chat.
can see it.
Chat with everyone on the street. Okay. Go to vip.gatech, G for GA for Georgia, TECH.edu. And when that comes up, you click on teams in the banner, and you can see a listing of our 82 VIP teams. Now, the reason that's convincing is if you look through that, every single one of you will probably find a team that you would like to join, just based on what they're doing.
Yes. Okay. I will put this website on the YouTube chat. Yes.
Okay. So Chris, it looks like it's ready to be shared, but maybe you need to enable it.
Sorry, can you say again?
It looks like it's ready to be shared because I see a little icon down here that is showing the web page.
You are not sharing your screen. It's okay.
Okay. Well, let me try again.
People are asking if the presentation will be shareable.
Yes, definitely.
Great. And let me check here. Okay, I have some questions here also. We are still waiting for the new questions from the YouTube chat, please. So if you prefer to do it in Portuguese or in English, no matters. Okay, you can do it, and we can send the question to the Professor Ed and Julie. And my questions is regards the need to reduce the burden of compulsory subjects. In Brazil, we have some heavy regulation in some areas. And how do you think that VIP can proper help us to offer a new subjects regards the new problems, sustainable development goals, and so on?
That's a great question because faculty who prefer traditional modes of instructions think that, oh well, this is a really hard material and this is the only way they can learn it. And if you look at what VIP teams do, it's clear that that's not the only way. And so VIP is another way for them to gain a lot of depth. If you remember the slide that Julie showed about content area leadership, those are students who have real depth. In fact, as I mentioned before, I think the students who are on my team, and I do work in wireless sensor networks and queuing theory and things like that, by the time they're seniors, they're functioning as a master's student in terms of what they know and how good they are. So I think the best answer to that is they need to make room in the curriculum because this is something that is as deep as a regular course, and but also has the benefits of enabling the students to pick up and practice, professional skills that are really going to help them get a job. So working in teams, working with students from different disciplines, working on a large, ambitious project over multiple years. So those are all good things that go beyond what a regular course could do. So yes, each department has to wrestle with that. You will always find some professors who don't like it. Or let's put it this way, let's be more genteel about it. They're skeptical. But once the first few VIP teams get up and running and you see what they can do, then they'll be convinced.
Great. We have one question here regards if you could talk a little more about the international competition.
Okay. So we run this once a year. And so each university that wants to participate has their own local competition where the teams prepare say 8 to 10 minute videos, and that's because of COVID. So we just do it by videos, or they give presentations in person now that we're relaxing things. And you recruit local judges, from professors, people from industry, people from other organizations, and they rate the teams and pick who's the winner in each type of discipline, and then who's the overall winner for the university. Then the overall winner for that university goes and competes against the winners of other universities. And so there's finally a grand worldwide winner from all VIP sites. The winner last year was from the University of New South Wales. And I'm trying to remember who was the year before that. I don't remember, but we've had it's not like somebody from the US wins the worldwide competition every year. There are great teams everywhere.
Great. Is there any specific requirement to apply to the VIP team?
So there are no prerequisites, and we don't interview the students, and they don't have to have had any courses as prerequisites, because the first semester on the team is when they learn what they need to know to function as a member of the team. And so all students, start out at about the same level, because they haven't seen something like that typically in their courses. And the students who are returning to the team often create exercises and labs for the new students to do to bring them up to speed. So we don't require any prerequisites. It screens out too many students. And because they're on the team for 2 or more years, they have plenty of time to learn what they need to know.
That's very democratic. That's very
Yes.
open-minded. Yes, very good.
I think that's one of the reasons the program succeeds, is it's open to everybody, and you're trying to match people who are passionate about the same subject. And once they get together, they do really good things.
Great. And I'm aware that you are doing right now a VIP consortium census. It's
Yes.
I would like to see this kind of numbers. How many students from the first year, second year, third year? Because the numbers you show us is about the Georgia Tech, isn't it?
Yeah, that was just Georgia Tech.
Okay. And then we we will have an open map of all VIP sites with the new numbers.
Yes, and we also keep track of the number of teams. So we have, I think this fall we'll have 84, maybe 85 teams. I think New York University has 67 teams. Purdue and several other universities have 40 teams. New South Wales, I think, had 40. So there are other programs that are big. We're not the only big one, and we're very happy to see that. If somebody manages to pass us, then we're thrilled. We'll run a competition to see who can have the most VIP teams. But yeah, then if you take that and multiply by, a typical number of students per team is 10 to 20, then it's a lot of students around the world.
I think we could have a last question regarding the implementation. For example, if in some universities somebody has a project, how can he or she can start the implementation of this transdisciplinary project into a disciplinary focus for credit,
Well, I think one of the best examples of this is how our College of Computing here at Georgia Tech handles this. And if a computer science student is on the same VIP team for 3 semesters in a row, and for at least 6 credits, then it satisfies their junior design requirement in CS, no matter what team they're on. And then those students will often stay on for another year just because they like what the team is doing.
Can I chime in on this one?
Sure.
So another policy that can help departments that are maybe hesitant to accept just wholesale all of these VIP teams, the biology department and the physics department at Georgia Tech, and actually the industrial engineering department has done something similar, but biology and physics, they say, well, VIP can count as a biology or a physics requirement only if the instructor is a biology or physics instructor, or if the department has approved the project. So that gives the department the opportunity to vet the projects and decide what counts and what doesn't count. And industrial engineering has done something similar. They don't have the instructor piece of the requirement, but they've gone through all of our team listings and decided which ones count. And they maintain their own list, and they give their students a list of, these are the 50 teams in VIP that you can use for industrial engineering and for senior design. So it gives the department a level of control and decision-making and they're not trusting another program to decide what should or shouldn't count in their major.
And we're also having discussions now about whether something like VIP or other things that are potentially vertically integrated, whether they're living learning communities and, or something else that provides professional skills to students as well as technical and disciplinary skills. Whether every student should have access to that, and there should be credits so that they can join whatever team they want to join. For instance, one of our teams is called Art and Artificial Intelligence. So they're actually doing some machine learning to train a computer to create paintings. And so there are students who are very interested in art, and there are students who are very interested in computer science on that team. And why, if you're a student in art, you should get credit for it. If you're a student in computer science, you should get credit for it, and to count towards your degree. Or you're just interested in some other team that's got nothing to do with your major, but if you join a team and you're doing a good job, it should count towards your degree. So maybe the general education credits could be redirected towards VIP.
Okay, perfect. I would like to thank you all very much for this kind presentation, and we can move forward with the next session. Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks. And we will send you our presentation.
Thank you, Julie. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, we will continue, nós vamos continuar a discussão, então as dúvidas sempre são bem-vindas, né? Hoje ainda temos mais 3 apresentações de experiências de outros colegas do exterior e amanhã teremos a experiência da própria Unicamp. Então podemos seguir adiante para a próxima sessão, por favor. Estamos agora com o professor Paulo Inácio, professor Scott Strachan. Okay.
May I? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
First, thank you for the audience, for everybody. Hi, everyone. And thank you, congratulations to the organization. I'd like to introduce Professor Scott Strachan from University of Strathclyde. Is it correct, the pronunciation, I guess? And,
yes, Strachan, but the university pronounced Strathclyde perfect.
All right, thank you. And he will share with us his experience with VIP. And Professor, please make yourself comfortable to start your presentation anytime you want.
Thank you. Okay.
So he's speaking from Glasgow, Scotland.
yes. So it is. So I have to tell you, it's 7:15 in the evening here. I'm a big football fan, a soccer fan, as I know many people in Brazil are. My team is in the semi-final of the Europa League Cup. We play RB Leipzig in about 45 minutes. So as soon as I finish my talk, I will be running off to watch the football and hoping my team reach the Europa final. My team is Rangers, Glasgow Rangers, so I thought I'd share that with you all.
I enjoy soccer as well. My team was the one that was competitive in the last World.
I know many people in Brazil enjoy soccer. Very famous soccer nation, absolutely. Much more famous than Scotland. Okay, so anyway, let's carry on. So today, I'd like to present our plans and progress around embedding education for sustainable development here at Strathclyde, and how VIP, Vertical Integrated Projects, which you've just heard about from Professor Coyle, how that's been a key part of that. But I'll introduce myself first. My name is Scott Strachan. I'm a Senior Teaching Fellow in the Department for Electronic and Electrical Engineering at Strathclyde. I've been involved in energy access research for the past 15 years also, and I'm co-director of our Vertically Integrated Projects for Sustainable Development Programme, and I'll tell you more about how we've aligned it with Sustainable Development Agenda later. Okay, so I'd like to start off with this quote. When I graduated in 1994 from the department I am now in, from the institution I now work in, my focus was in getting a job in oil and gas, and I was oblivious to the climate crisis, as many of my peers and the wider public were at that time in 1994. And this rather provocative quote from world-renowned ecologist and educationalist David Orr captures this widespread ignorance, I feel. He was talking about me back then, an ecologically illiterate degree-holding Homo sapien from the class of 94. That's me on the right, by the way, not the left. That's David Orr. And I was very eager to succeed. I was looking for a job in oil and gas, as were many of my friends. However, at that time, the climate crisis had only really started to filter in to the public arena and the consciousness of us all around about then. This was the start of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1994. And this is when we had the first COP around about this time also. Fast forward 25 years or so, and a lot has changed since then. There is much more eco-literacy among young people now, and I was very grateful for their activism during COP26, which took place in my hometown here in Glasgow, where it was clear that everyone, how important activism was. Without it, we may not have made the progress we've made to date, which we can all still agree hasn't been enough, fast enough. This survey that we see here was completed by students organising for Sustainability United Kingdom, included 8,000 students, and it shows here just how high the demand is for us as universities, higher education, to embed sustainable development in our curriculum. And that's what we've committed to do here at Strathclyde. But I guess what David Orr was really saying back then was that change was needed in the way we educate our students and what we educate them about and what we educate them for. Because he could see then what we can all see now, that our graduates are entering a rapidly and vastly changing world. And so it's incumbent on us as educators to ensure we embed processes and practices required to better equip our graduates, not only with the right disciplinary knowledge and understanding, but also the right competencies and skills and attributes required to meet these wickedly complex and interconnected social, environmental, and economic challenges of the 21st century. And to ensure that we are educating our students not only about sustainable development, but for sustainable development. That's fundamentally what education for sustainable development is all about. It's the process by which we can achieve this outcome. And so education for sustainable development isn't something new. It's evolved through numerous Earth summits, COPs over the past 35 years. The UN even had a decade of ESD. It's been made an explicit target of Sustainable Development Goal 4, quality education. There's been a 5-year global action plan designed to promote ESD. And more recently, UNESCO published its ESD for 2030 framework and roadmap, adopted by 80 government ministers when they signed what's become known as the Berlin Declaration for ESD in May 2021. And even more recently, here in Glasgow at COP26, that Berlin Declaration was incorporated in a COP declaration, committing governments to integrating sustainability and climate change in formal education systems. So it's becoming much more mainstream now, finally. And so it should be, because without it, we risk not achieving the other mitigation and adaptation targets associated with climate change. To put that in some context, that statement, the International Energy Agency, the IEA, in a report last year stated that more than half of the technologies will need deployed at scale beyond 2030 to achieve net zero by 2050, which is the mainstream net zero target across the world, although it differs from country to country. These technologies haven't yet been developed to be deployed at scale. If you want a sense of the urgency of embedding ESD across all levels of education, then you have to ask yourself who will look to develop these technologies and their implementing policies and design the other numerous mitigation and adaptation measures we'll need to make the change we need at the scale and pace we need, while ensuring this net zero transition remains just and equitable. It will be the graduates of today and the graduates of tomorrow, and it's incumbent on us as educators to equip them with the right competencies. This means more transformational, experiential, problem-based, action-oriented learning methods, better at developing these types of competencies in our students, more than traditional pedagogies, arguably. Competencies like systems thinking, critical thinking, anticipatory thinking, integrated problem solving, these kind of things. In fact, UNESCO has defined 8 key ESD, education for sustainable development competencies that are loosely categorized into ways of thinking or head, ways of practicing or hand, and ways of being heart. So head, heart, and hands. And these are also the kinds of competencies that employers are looking for as they look for new kinds of graduates, ones that can help them navigate their business and shape their industry in a way that is not just economically sustainable and focuses only on that single bottom line of profit, but in a way that is socially and environmentally sustainable too, focusing on a more rounded and balanced triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit that's not only good for society, but also good for business. Our Vision 2025 strategic plan at Strathclyde has made a commitment to embedding ESD in our curricula and to embrace approaches that will develop these competencies and challenge our students to think critically about the complex systems that make up the world around them and about the positive impact they can have on it. I'd like to draw towards some kind of close, I suppose, by showing a couple of examples that we're working on to embed ESD at Strathclyde. Just as there are a multitude of behaviours, actions and systems that all contribute to climate change, it will require multiple solutions to stop it. There is no silver bullet. And so critical in taking appropriate climate action is taking a systems thinking approach to understanding the problem and the solution. One that involves looking at the whole picture as a set of connected things or parts forming a complex whole and understanding their complex dynamics and interdependencies and how this affects the system behaviour. And the same can be said of the interactions between all of the Sustainable Development Goals more broadly. So one of our very recent successes has been workshops that we've run with an NGO called Climate Fresque. They're from France, and a think tank from MIT Sloan called Climate Interactive. This has taken the form of a workshop programme intended to educate students about climate change by taking a systems thinking approach to understanding first the scientific problem of climate change via Climate Fresque workshops. And what this does is it takes 42 cards, which distill the 3 very complicated, voluminous IPCC reports and distills them into these cards and asks the participants to then interconnect them by cause and effect. So we understand what makes up that problem of climate change and the consequences of it. And then we have another one that focuses more on the suite of solutions or policy solutions that we might look to meet the challenge of climate change. And we use Climate Interactive's En-ROADS Climate Simulator for that. And these were very, very successful workshops. And since November last year, we've had 650 participants go through these workshops, and in the region of about 50 of our staff and students become trained as facilitators in them. Another very successful programme at Strathclyde, engaging students in research partnerships with academics and students from other disciplines as they tackle research-related research problems, is our VIP for Sustainable Development programme. So I'm going to play you a very, very short video here that will give you some understanding of how that operates here at Strathclyde, that hopefully complements the information you received from Professor Coyle. And you'll see how we've aligned the VIP model with the Sustainable Development Goals, hopefully. I hope you can hear this.
Vertically integrated projects, or VIPs as they are known, allow our students to work alongside research, staff and academics on active research projects throughout their time at university. This experience allows students to develop a deeper level of subject learning, acquire academic credits, and develop the wide range of competencies employers look for in our graduates. Research teams can also be multidisciplinary, involving collaborative working between students from all faculties and departments, and so a typical VIP team may involve students not only from different year groups, but significantly from different disciplines. The VIP model offers undergraduate students the opportunity to work in partnership on real-world research projects, while also mobilising and challenging students to become active now in tackling the most pressing global challenges of our time. We have 12 VIP projects involving more than 200 students, each focusing on a primary STG. One such project is the Energy for Development VIP, which focuses on SDG 7, ensuring affordable and clean energy for all. Here, engineering, business and social science students come together to design appropriate and sustainable energy solutions. Students also get the opportunity to install off-grid systems and test their solutions in remote rural communities in Africa and India, completing 12 village school installations to date. Other VIP projects have focused on health and well-being, such as our drug discovery team, where engineers, biochemists and mathematicians have worked together to develop new techniques that can be used in the discovery of new antibiotics. Our education-focused VIPs partner with local schools in low participation areas of Glasgow and rural communities in sub-Saharan Africa. The VIP for Sustainable Development programme, getting you ready for the world of work by tackling the work of the world. Join us in making a difference through useful learning.
Okay, and you can see there our programme was, we're very fortunate to win the International Green Gown Award in 2019 for student engagement, and also the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education Award, their Campus Research Award. And so effectively we took the research-based education that the VIP mechanism allowed us to, excuse me a second, will you please? Just tell them to wait. Okay, sorry about that. And we aligned it with education for sustainable development, and that gave us research-based education for sustainable development. So we effectively took that VIP mechanism and wrapped the sustainable development goals around that. And really what we've realized, I think, is that research-based education for sustainable development can motivate students to actively participate in a deeper level of learning and understanding. And this is done effectively by raising the stakes from exam pass to delivering impact, where students can become more motivated, not only by their own personal academic gain, but by their potential to make a difference to the lives of more vulnerable people or communities, which they may even have had the opportunity to engage with and get to know, which can inspire them to a deeper level of learning. In addition, embedding ESD effectively in our teaching and learning through a whole institution approach means ensuring it also aligns effectively with and strengthens our many other strategic objectives. And very significantly, VIP for sustainable development has paved the way for ESD to emerge as a key strategic objective at Strathclyde, with the programme being cited as an exemplar of how we can effectively embed ESD in curricula. And now we're looking at augmenting it and contributing and impacting on our internationalisation agenda through COIL programmes, collaborative online international learning, where VIP sites can then connect via platforms just like this, Zoom, Teams, these types of virtual platforms, and students from different sites can work together, developing intercultural competencies as well. And just finally, you know, what this requires is change, and implementing change within higher education institutions is particularly challenging. There's a lot of inertia involved with our institutions. Convincing people of change is often difficult. Changes to entrenched teaching methods, changes to tightly regulated criteria and curricula, changes to degree accreditation criteria, changing priorities, changing mindsets. And so it needs support from the top down and the bottom up, from inside and outside our institutions, from staff, from employers, from government, quality assurance agencies, professional bodies and academies. It needs a lot of people to invoke a lot of change. But change is definitely happening, I'm pleased to say, where traditionally higher education institutions have addressed sustainability mainly through their estates and operations, their campus, what they've done to their buildings. It's very encouraging to see many, like Strathclyde, that are now keenly focused on what they put in the minds of their students, as well as on the top of the roofs of their campus. And so, to quote the words, as I've shown here, of John Maynard Keynes, perhaps the difficulty here lies not so much in developing new ideas as escaping old ones. And so I started this presentation with a rather provocative, albeit insightful quote from David Orr. I'd like to end with one from another renowned UK environmentalist, Sir Jonathan Porritt, that I think really captures what ESD is all about, the essence of education for sustainable development. He said that we, universities, should be preparing our students for the world, the work of the world, and not just the world of work. In fact, ESD and our VIP for Sustainable Development programme is a key part of that at Strathclyde, seeks to do both by engaging our students in these wicked real-world challenges as an integral part of their studies, credit-bearing, where we are actively preparing them for the world of work by tackling the work of the world now, not waiting until they leave university, but doing it now. And so ultimately, we hope that embedding ESD in our curricula, in the way I've tried to outline here very, very quickly, through VIP and other means, will ensure our graduates will become proactive and responsible global citizens and technologists and innovators and business leaders and policymakers equipped for the challenges of what remains a uniquely challenging and uncertain future for us all. And at that, I'd like to invite any questions.
Okay. Yeah, we have. First, congratulations to share this experience with us. Very, very interesting, amazing experience. I try to join in order to keep our time here. Two questions that you have here related to the methodology you applied in this subject and this learning. First, RBESD, they are saying that's a good option to apply active methodology. So that's the idea is maybe not a question, it's a statement that could use some shallow knowledge generated by internet using technology. And also another question that's complete. How can you approach this subject inside the curricula? I mean, is it possible to join this in a specific discipline, in a specific subject, or conducting along 2 or 3 different subjects during the different years? And also, is there some kind of motivation from the university that you receive some benefits to these students in order to give more, I don't know, maybe knowledge, skills to go to the market and to have a better student in the professional? I would like to add a little bit completion. I'm sorry for that long question, but I saw that you are using some tools, technological, so like system dynamic simulation. Is it possible to learn this during the project, or do you think it's better to have these previous requirements to go inside this project? That's all. I don't know if it's, but if you want some.
Okay, I'll start with that one first. Then, if we've got time, I'll try and cover the others in the remaining minutes. So in terms of we don't have our students involved in system dynamics. What I was focusing there mainly on was systems thinking as a competency. However, in terms of simulation, many of our VIP projects do have students doing very technical studies that involve simulation. We have a lot of engineering-based VIP projects, but fundamentally our VIPs are interdisciplinary. So we have students working across different disciplines or from their own disciplines working with other disciplines. But we have students using very complex simulation tools. The way we operate our VIPs and support our students to do that, which means that we don't have to provide them with separate education on the tools that they can then bring in to the VIP, although that can happen. Sometimes they learn tools like MATLAB, Simulink, and some of the other classes, they can bring them in. But sometimes they learn tools that they have never experienced in other parts of their curriculum. And often it is the researchers or PhD students who provide supervision support for our VIP students, who provide them with that on-the-job type of training. So that's where they would get the support for these type of simulations that they conduct. In terms of different strategies for approaching SDGs in the curricula, that's a very, very good question, and I don't think there is one single answer for that. What I would say is that the SDGs, have a lot of proponents and a lot of opponents, a lot of pros and cons. But one thing I think that is clear from the SDGs is that they do provide us with a very tangible framework that we can understand many of the big challenges that the world face. And as educators, we can really use that framework to present those to our students. Now, for us, in trying to implement research-based education aligned with sustainable development, that allowed us to effectively set up a program where all of our projects must align with one primary SDG, but they must also demonstrate how they are perhaps multi-solving, they're having shared outcomes from their project with other SDGs, given the interconnected nature of the SDGs. So this helps the students not only focus on the very technical detail of the project, but gain a much broader understanding and appreciation of sustainable development, the interconnection between society, environment, and economy, and at an even lower level, the interconnection between the different SDGs and these 17 global challenges that the UN, the international community, has come to a consensus on.
Good, great. Sorry, my phone was closed. Well, interesting. I agree. I have two questions here. One is about your students. We know that you came from, you are in the electrical and electronic engineering program. So the question is, are there different students from other programs like business or something like this? Mm-hmm. How do you mix this in different level, under and graduate too?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you a very, very honest and frank answer here. And I'm going to tell you that we do have a mechanism whereby we have students from different disciplines working together. Some projects that seems to work better than in others. I don't think that we have a magic recipe to make that work yet. We are doing quite a lot of work trying to unpick where it's working well and where it isn't working well in order to try and improve that collaboration. My own personal experience of having different disciplines working in a group in my VIP has been mixed. I've often found that despite the best will in the world, students very often remain in their disciplinary cohorts, and the contact they have with each other, they keep to a minimum. And I think that this is a challenge that we as institutions need to think more broadly about how we overcome it, because I think that we have been historically set up as very siloed, disciplinary silos. Universities are disciplinary silos. Our research is very siloed. Our teaching is very siloed. It has been since the institutions were formed. And I think that the types of global challenges that we now face moving forward require an interdisciplinary approach. And we need to be sure that, you know, our students are equipped for that. I used to make a joke that when I was at university studying engineering, the only time I ever spoke to anybody who was a non-engineer in my course was when I was in the pub having a drink, out socialising. It's the only time I did that. Now that can't be right, and I don't think a great deal has really changed in higher education over the years. And I think we as educators need to think more creatively about how we can bring timetables, bring curriculum, bring people, students from different disciplines, not just to work together, but to work effectively together. And we need to look at different pedagogical practices that can help us do that, I think.
I guess you mean that different expertise can join and create a bigger than that, which different from different program, different background. I agree. That's very interesting. To join this is a challenge, but I agree, and I suppose that's it will be the future of new students and new ways to educate. I guess we have the last question. I'm not sure that I'm very clear with the question, but I try to understand it. The question says that energy communities is very strong in Scotland. And so is there some kind of research involving this in VIP project? Maybe I add that we're talking about energy communities and also in different ways from energy generator or to be an autonomous energy generator. Means your own house, white farms, not centralized but decentralized, some kind of this. Is it correct in my interpretation and the question?
That's how I would see it. We actually have an organisation. My research team has an organisation that we interact with called Community Energy Scotland. And it's exactly that. It's about trying to bring that energy autonomy to different pockets of the community in Scotland. So they can build wind turbines or solar installations. They can connect to the grid. They can earn revenue for their community, and they can also supply their own community with their own renewable energy. So that model does exist in Scotland, yes. We actually had a VIP, and asking about the connection to VIP, we had a VIP that actually was responsible for the evolution of one of these community energy groups. So I'm from Glasgow, and there is a small cooperative energy community group called Glasgow Community Energy, and that was started by a team of VIP students that I supervised. and they looked for derelict sites, so unused sites in Glasgow, where they could install solar arrays and use that to feed back into the grid and generate revenue for the local community. And I think they have now installed the 3 different installations, 2 of them in a kind of derelict area and 1 on a school, a local primary school in Glasgow. But that was started by 2 VIP students. And one is now the director of that co-op. He has another job, but that's another job that he has. He is the director of that community Energy Glasgow. And in fact, I'm actually meeting with him tomorrow, as it happens. I've not seen him for a while, but I'm meeting tomorrow because we're presenting on the benefits that VIP for sustainable development can have for students, how it can inspire students to a different level of learning and practice. And I think that that's a really, really good example of it. We also engage with communities in sub-Saharan Africa. So we have VIPs that focus on energy access solutions for rural communities in Africa, in the Gambia and in Malawi. So we're engaged with community groups there as well as local community groups here in Glasgow. Sorry, I think you're on mute, Paulo.
Sorry, maybe it's the age, I'm not sure.
Not at all.
Yeah, well, that's what's interesting in VIP. You can sometimes split the way that you are researching and develop another idea, and from this idea to other. People say here that it's very interesting also this local sustainability study with energy, other thing. But I have to finish it, Professor Scott, our section.
I have to go and see my team reach the final, hopefully.
Really? Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Your amazing experience was very, very good to share this with us, to come here to attend our invite. And now, people, our audience, please stay a little bit more. We continue. And Professor Scott, if you want to finish your last words, please.
Just all I'd like to do is thank you and Cristiano and yourself for the invitation to speak to you and your colleagues today. And if I'm happy to have my details shared with anyone who wants to know more about VIP for sustainable development, and I'm even happy to organize a Zoom call and speak to people individually if people are thinking about setting something similar up in their own institution.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
I see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye.
Bom, pessoal, por favor, fiquem mais um pouquinho. Vamos ter a próxima sessão agora. E muito obrigado pela audiência, obrigado por estar aqui conosco, por compartilhar essa experiência maravilhosa. Eu tenho a oportunidade de acompanhar alguns projetos aqui e realmente eu sou um fã desse modelo. Espero estar implementando nas próximas oportunidades de ensino junto com eles.
Buenas tardes. Teremos agora uma sessão com o professor Jorge Rosales Salas. Me gostaria muito de agradecer a audiência e a organização do evento, e agora gostaria muito de compartilhar com vocês que o professor Jorge Salas é da Universidade Maior de Chile, Santiago, correto?
Sim, correto.
Ele vai falar acerca de como acercar a investigação aos estudantes. Entonces, Jorge, ahora es con usted.
Muchas gracias, encantado de estar acá. disculpen, no sé hablar portugués, pero creo que una mejor, se amplía el escenario si hablo en español, un poco más lento en vez de inglés. Inglés también podría haber sido, pero quiero que maximicemos nuestra colaboración. Agradecer al profesor Morini por la invitación y de ahora en este momento les pido que para el segundo semestre podamos hacer una sesión latinoamericana para fortalecer la comunidad hispanohablante. Así que, profesor Morini, le pido que lidere el esfuerzo el segundo semestre o el próximo año para poder sumar a Latinoamérica en un proceso común, para hablar en portugués, portuñol y español. Bueno, para no alargar más, voy a compartir mi pantalla. Aquí está. Yo ya no los veo, creo. Solamente veo mi presentación. Así que me pueden decir si se escucha bien. Voy a volver al chat, pero después voy a seguir en la presentación y voy a empezar. ¿Se escucha bien? ¿Sí? Sí, ya, perfecto. Muchas gracias. ¿Cómo acercar la investigación a los estudiantes? Les quiero dar un contexto. ¿Por qué? Porque los proyectos VIP se dan en un escenario global de hacer investigación, de hacer ciencia, pero también de paliar las desigualdades y las dificultades que ciertos grupos, mujeres, diversidades, discapacidades, minorías, pueblos originarios, tienen en el mundo para hacer ciencia o simplemente para alcanzar bienestar. Entonces, en un contexto chileno, les quiero presentar por qué la Universidad Mayor se unió a este programa de los VIP y estamos muy orgullosos de poder continuar, aunque este semestre estamos congelados porque la Universidad Mayor cambió su cantidad de facultades, entonces estamos en una reestructuración. Bueno, como contexto, les comento que Chile pertenece a la OCDE, a la organización o OSD, también dicha en inglés, pero somos el segundo país que menos invierte de todo el grupo. Nosotros nos unimos a los países mayoritariamente europeos que pertenecen a esta organización, pero somos de los más pobres, de los menos aventajados. Podemos ver ahí un promedio que la OCDE tiene 8,6 investigadores cada 1.000 personas trabajando en países de este grupo. No está Brasil, así que no les puedo hacer el ejemplo, pero podemos hacer un ejemplo en otra circunstancia. Chile, en vez de tener 8 como el promedio, tiene un investigador cada 1.000 personas trabajando. Y este presupuesto, esta característica ha ido disminuyendo. Estos datos son del 2018. Además, el gasto en investigación y desarrollo, podemos ver, por ejemplo, que el promedio de la OCDE es el 2% del PIB, del Producto Interno Bruto, pero Chile tiene el 0,35%, superando solo por poco a México. México y Chile son de los países de la OCDE los que menos invierten en investigación y desarrollo. Pero, y creo que esto es transversal en varios países, el interés de las personas adultas o incluso mayores de 15 años igual tiene mucho impacto en la ciencia y en la tecnología. Podemos ver, por ejemplo, que el porcentaje de personas mayores de 15 años que residen en Chile, que le interesa la tecnología, es un 69%, y la ciencia es un 61%, a diferencia del deporte, que es un 67%. O sea, hay harto interés en la ciencia, pero no se hace investigación. En el pregrado, en undergraduate, en el posgrado o en la misma academia, no se hace investigación. Por otro lado, y el tema del feminismo, como habíamos escuchado en una presentación previa de los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible, les menciono que el objetivo 5 es equidad de género. Equidad de género. O sea, tiene que ver con una arista del feminismo. Igual, incluso el número 8, creo que el objetivo 8 de trabajo decente y crecimiento económico, también tiene en uno de sus indicadores a igual trabajo, igual paga. Entonces, el tema del género, de las diferencias y las desigualdades por género, también están en la ciencia. Y podemos ver en Chile que el porcentaje de mujeres que están investigando es un solamente 34%, y dentro de los profesionales que tienen doctorado, en general, a todos los años, las mujeres tienen el 37% de los doctorados en Chile. Y por último, ya para terminar el contexto, de las adjudicaciones de proyectos investigativos. Bueno, y esto tiene que ver, por ejemplo, de incluso qué alumnas participan en los VIP, en los proyectos verticales. Hay más alumnas, más alumnos. Esto se ve reflejado en cómo la investigación se hace en el país de residencia de uno. Aquí podemos ver proyectos nacionales financiados, postulados por hombres en verde y mujeres en amarillo, y los adjudicados en los mismos colores, pero más oscuro. Y podemos ver que en ambas categorías los hombres postulan más y se ganan más proyectos que las mujeres. Pero nosotros necesitamos fomentar la investigación de los estudiantes desde el inicio, desde el primer año, desde que salen del high school o del colegio. ¿Por qué? Porque según el World Economic Forum, en su informe para el futuro de los empleos, las 10 mejores habilidades para el 2025, dentro del top 5, 4 tienen que ver con resolución de problemas. Pensamiento analítico, resolución compleja, pensamiento crítico, incluso creatividad y originalidad. Entonces, el hecho de participar en proyectos verticalmente integrados les entrega herramientas que van a ser las mejores habilidades de aquí al futuro. Además, como también lo habían presentado en un profesor anteriormente, la ciencia que nosotros queremos desarrollar, no necesariamente como U mayor, sino que como objetivo personal, como director de los proyectos U mayor, es que nuestros cursos también tengan algún desarrollo con respecto a los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Teníamos un curso antes del congelamiento que se llamaba específicamente Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible. Y les voy a mencionar algunos logros que cumplieron dentro incluso de conferencias o concursos mundiales del mismo consorcio VIP, que Julie y Edward pueden atestiguar si es que todavía están acá. Entonces, ¿por qué investigar? Porque participar en una investigación desde el pregrado me refiero al Undergraduate Studies, les permite potenciar los planes de postgrado y los planes laborales, participando en distintas disciplinas académicas a través de los años, si es que va rotando los VIP. El perfil del aprendizaje basado en la investigación permite identificar problemas, estructurarlos, encontrar y teorizar sobre soluciones, metodologías, pero siempre basado en evidencia y datos, para tener un rigor científico y poder entregar una solución. Los beneficios de hacer investigación y de ser un investigador desde pregrado es integrarse a la escuela de posgrado de mayor facilidad, integrarse al mundo laboral incluso solamente para abarcar de mejor manera una entrevista laboral. El tema del logro académico y el currículum, dado que los chicos y chicas necesitan tener actividades extracurriculares o actividades extra clases que demuestren una proactividad hacia el mundo académico y el mundo laboral. Y por otro lado, metas profesionales que a lo mejor chicos y chicas quieren lograr antes de titularse. Tenemos también habilidades transferibles, una sensación de crear comunidad entre alumnos de distintos años, graduados y profesores, y la generación de confianza en mi trabajo, porque yo investigo, porque yo avanzo con un grupo, porque yo aprendo adicional en mis clases. Yo como estudiante de pregrado genero confianza en mí mismo, en mí misma. Entonces, como les decía, por una parte nos permite la preparación de la entrevista, por otro lado, y es muy significativo, está el tema de las cartas de recomendación. ¿Por qué? Porque los profesores de los VIP pueden entregar cartas de recomendación a estudiantes y ampliar el currículum. Y aquí viene el tema de los programas VIP, los proyectos verticalmente integrados. Les voy a presentar, además del contexto de cómo nosotros en la Universidad Mayor nos aproximamos a los VIP, por otro lado les contaré un poquito de la historia desde el 2018. Bueno, ¿qué son los proyectos VIP? Nosotros ya conocemos todo esto, pero es una iniciativa y le quiero agradecer al Georgia Institute of Technology Y yo creo la última actualización es que ya tenemos más de 40 instituciones en 12 países, lo cual es relevante. Además, integra pregrado, posgrado, distintos años. Ahí hay distintas, no sé si opiniones sobre permitir a los chicos y chicas de primer año, a lo mejor, o no permitirlos hasta segundo año o segundo semestre. En la Universidad Mayor también partimos con profesores de centros de investigación, o sea, simplemente investigadores, pero luego se amplió la oferta a todos académicos que tuvieran ideas de investigación. Además, la integración vertical nos permite dar una sensación de tutoría para los estudiantes, y los profesores y estudiantes generan experiencia y generan confianza en su propio trabajo. Y hemos tenido estudiantes que han participado por años y están muy contentos con su participación. Nuestros objetivos desde una perspectiva Universidad Mayor, tenemos el entorno del mundo real, la innovación y el emprendimiento. Estamos tratando o vamos a tratar, siempre se nos ha dicho de que busquemos financiamiento de alguna manera, y el hecho de conectar personas, buscar a lo mejor incluso prácticas profesionales. ¿Cuáles son los objetivos de cursar un VIP? Integrar distintos niveles de experiencias disciplinares para facilitar crecimiento de todos los estudiantes. Pero yo más que nada pienso que es para prepararlos para su siguiente etapa, académica o laboral. Los semestres que nosotros le hemos dado a los estudiantes para que participen ha sido desde 1 hasta múltiples años, todos los que ellos quieran. Las evaluaciones han sido con coevaluación, autoevaluación, entregas parciales o entregas finales, o sea, un producto tangible, y también alguna disyuntiva entre o participación o asistencia. Ahí cada profesor ha tomado la decisión y nosotros hemos dado libertad. Las clases nosotros las hemos hecho una vez a la semana por un bloque horario, generalmente es 1:30 cronológica, y asignamos 3 horas de trabajo asincrónico individual en su propia casa. Tenemos integrados los VIPs en los dominios de aprendizaje, en los resultados de aprendizaje de nuestro currículum. No son ramos selectivos, lamentablemente nosotros los hemos tenido que inscribir de manera manual, de manera, digamos, artesanal, pero rinden a 2 dominios, al dominio de autoaprendizaje, desarrollo personal y pensamiento crítico, y al dominio de razonamiento científico. Yo opino, pero no puedo asegurar que un tercer dominio en el currículum chileno se acepte, pero la expresión oral o la expresión, yo creo que es también un objetivo que debe ser incorporado. Consideramos que quienes pueden postular a VIP son de todos los años, de todas las carreras, incluso egresados. Aquí hemos tenido problemas, y esto les doy un consejo a todas las participaciones de acá. Hay alumnos que en su último semestre tienen que inscribir tesis o trabajo de titulación y necesitan tener ya aprobado o cerrado el VIP. Por lo tanto, a veces, a mitad de semestre, hay que cerrar con nota final a un alumno o alumna porque se viene encima el proceso de tesis. Entonces, yo tengo que, no sé, aceptar una nota parcial como nota final para facilitarle el proceso a titulación, porque si no, el proyecto VIP es el que está atrasando el proceso final de ese alumno o alumna. ¿Cómo hemos creado los VIP? Los hemos creado a partir de intereses académicos personales. Hemos enviado una convocatoria semestre a semestre a todos los profesores de la universidad que a partir de sus propios intereses presentan una idea. Luego presentamos toda la convocatoria a los estudiantes, esperamos un tiempo de respuesta y los proyectos que tienen estudiantes inscritos son los que se realizan. Los proyectos que no tienen estudiantes inscritos no se hacen. ¿Cómo partimos y cómo vamos? A ver, ¿cómo estamos? Estamos bien. Ok. Partimos, y aquí podemos ver a Edward Coyle. Partimos el 2018 con la visita del académico para una presentación en una facultad que ahora no existe, la Facultad de Estudios Interdisciplinarios. pero que ahora se transformó en dirección e innovación. Durante el 2019, el director de innovación educativa, Alex Slater, no sé si se acordarán de él, junto con Catherine Daniel, participaron en la reunión del consorcio y fue la primera vez que tuvimos 3 cursos. En el 2020 tuvimos 12 con 200 estudiantes y para el 2021 tuvimos más de 350 estudiantes en 35 cursos de todas las facultades, de múltiples carreras, con carreras como biotecnología, ingeniería civil industrial, psicología, con postulaciones de más de 400. ¿Y cuáles han sido los resultados? Por ejemplo, participamos en un concurso de emprendimiento universitario con el curso de Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible, con un proyecto de batería biológica que también representó a la universidad, representó en el consorcio VIP anual. Hicimos gracias a Unicamp también, junto con la Universidad de Chile, y CESI de Colombia, creo que es de Colombia, y CEAFAU, hicimos un encuentro el 2020, un encuentro latinoamericano que me gustaría mucho que se repitiese. Además, participamos con la subsecretaria de Ciencia y Tecnología, hicieron un podcast, unas alumnas en un curso sobre feminismo y sobre ser mujer, y el equipo Universidad Mayor llegó a la final del Consortium Competition del 2021, donde destacaron con su batería biológica, y estamos muy felices de cómo hemos desarrollado todo esto. Lamentablemente estamos congelados este semestre por reestructuración de universidad, pero me aseguraron que vamos a volver. Si no es el segundo semestre de este año, sí es el próximo año. Ojalá. Tenemos muy buenos resultados y la universidad está enfocada en potenciar la investigación. Y digamos que creemos en la Universidad Mayor, que los proyectos VIP son un regalo hacia la academia y hacia el proceso investigativo entre alumno y profesor. Y tenemos que aprovecharlo. Así que muchas gracias y esa es mi presentación.
Gracias, profesor Jorge. Es una experiencia fascinante se ver como en poco tiempo se ha progredido tanto y que los estudiantes están postulando mucho, que quieren participar del programa VIP. En cuanto se ve a las preguntas, yo gostaria de poner uma questão acerca de perfil, de que cursos, de que programas são esses estudantes que mais frequentemente postulam a la entrada em um programa VIP.
La Universidad Mayor tiene un sesgo, y ese sesgo es con respecto a las ciencias biológicas. Partió siendo una universidad enfocada en ciencias biológicas y se ha potenciado mucho. La carrera que más entrega postulaciones es biotecnología. Luego vamos a ingenierías. Y por último a psicología. Son las 3 carreras que más postulan. Tenemos diseño, tenemos data science, ingeniería comercial o administración y negocios. Tenemos 40 carreras representadas en los VIP. Todo el currículum de la universidad tiene alumnos representados en los 35 cursos que tuvimos. Y tenemos cursos desde una experiencia teatral hasta el análisis del autismo, pasando por proyectos fantásticos y animación de células hasta programación en Python. Entonces, es una gran variedad de cursos y una gran variedad de alumnos. Y sí, el problema que han sido los semestres que los alumnos han tenido que titularse o graduarse y me piden, por favor, ciérreme el semestre antes o no podré. Y tenemos que, ok, se acepta, titúlese. Es lo que queríamos.
Um ponto que especialmente se ha destacado quanto à questão de atribuir créditos à experiência de VIP. Como usted em Universidade Maior han resuelto esta questão?
Sí, estamos trabajando para que en los próximos años, ojalá, nos adscribamos al sistema de créditos transferibles. Pero por ahora no tenemos tampoco ramos electivos. Entonces, esto ha sido simplemente como asignatura plus, algo adicional a la malla, adicional al currículum, que sirve para solamente el currículum vitae del alumno. En casos excepcionales, pero sí se les ofrece, se pueden reemplazar por asignaturas de ciertas características. Y esas ciertas características son que pertenezcan a lo que se llama núcleo de formación general. Núcleo de formación general son un conjunto de asignaturas de primeros años, como por ejemplo competencias académicas, escritura y lectura, interculturalidad, expresión oral y escrita, asignaturas de complementación de toda carrera que pueden reemplazarse, pero no es automático, es con postulación y digamos que tiene oportunidades de mejora.
Uma questão que me ha sido encaminhado é acerca do panorama general de Chile, Chile que está passando agora uma profunda reforma educacional em la educação superior. Como usted vê os possíveis impactos desta reforma em la experiência de VIP?
Yo estoy muy contento con el futuro de Chile. La reforma educacional está siendo encaminada para tener aristas múltiples en múltiples áreas, que no quiero polemizar o politizar acá en esta presentación, pero se ve que hay profesores en los ministerios de educación. No hay administradores de negocio, cosa que pasaba lamentablemente antes en Chile. Ahora hay académicos, hay profesores y docentes incluso de educación básica y media, high school, middle school, que están tomando decisiones para el futuro de Chile. Me siento muy optimista. También estamos trabajando con, por ejemplo, educación sexual integral, ley de identidad trans, las 40 horas laborales, que van a afectar también a los turnos, por ejemplo, o el desenvolvimiento del trabajo académico, pero yo creo que los VIP, más que nada, y la reforma educacional de la gratuidad. La gratuidad es gran parte de lo que se viene en Chile. No ha sido tema actualmente, estamos creo en un 60% de gratuidad para la gente más vulnerable. Eso va a ampliarse, pero no ha sido tema mediático en los medios de comunicación que se amplíe de 60 en adelante. Pero fue una lucha llegar a eso de gobiernos anteriores. Y entonces, con esa gratuidad, sí tuvimos un par de años inestables financieramente en la Universidad Mayor, pero con esta nueva reestructuración y el foco en investigación hemos estado sacando muy buenos resultados en rankings internacionales y me veo optimista. Y por eso le digo al profesor Edmundo Ignacio que le quiero cobrar la palabra para el segundo semestre y hacer un nuevo evento latinoamericano para abrazarnos a la distancia y compartir y darle buenas noticias de que los VIP Universidad Mayor se hayan reinstaurado. Ojalá. Por ahora tengo solamente la experiencia del año pasado y los años previos, pero ha sido una puerta, el hecho de hacer cursos VIP, una puerta a mejorar mi investigación y a mejorar mi docencia. Mis cursos VIP, a mí, yo lo disfrutaba cuando hacía mi curso VIP, porque era mi tema de investigación. Yo hablaba mi lenguaje y tenía gente adelante, estudiantes, que me miraban así, escuchando mi tema. yo estaba en mi salsa. Y yo creo que a todo profesor VIP le pasa eso.
Yo creo que estamos avanzando en... No, creo que podemos poner una cuestión a más. Mabel Alvarado, muy interesante la experiencia de la Universidad Mayor. Una pregunta. En proyectos VIP, ¿hay experiencia junto a empresas? ¿Los alumnos tienen oportunidad de aplicar en empresas?
Ya. Oficialmente se trató de hacer un spin-off de los VIP y lo llamamos VIP Trainee, para tratar de conectar con empresas. No resultó porque dependía de una persona que lamentablemente fue despedida, entonces no resultó. Pero siempre se ha puesto como beneficios de los VIP dos cosas. Uno, un certificado de participación personalizado que cada alumno, yo lo digo porque yo soy el director, cada alumno me dice lo que quiere que diga el certificado dependiendo de a qué cosa está postulando. Por ende, el VIP resalta la interdisciplinaridad o el trabajo en equipo o la proactividad dentro de ese certificado para que postulen a empresas, a prácticas o a programas de magíster. Y por otro lado, además del certificado, yo siempre le inculco a los profesores que promuevan, y yo lo hago, cartas de recomendación. Porque a mí, como académico, si tengo un problema con un ex tutor, murió esa carta de recomendación y tengo que buscar a otra persona. Y buscar a más personas en posiciones de autoridad cuando eres alumno es difícil. Y un VIP, un profesor que además te está cobijando interdisciplinariamente en algo extra, que te entrega una carta de recomendación, da punto a tu proactividad por participar, por lo menos en Chile, en algo que no te afecta la nota, pero sí te suma a tu currículum. Entonces, todo el alumnado que participa en VIP en Chile, en Universidad Mayor, lo hace ad honorem, por gusto, y por esa línea en el currículum que nosotros tenemos que potenciar.
Muchas gracias. De certo que tú has descrito un contexto muy interesante con muchos beneficios tanto para los estudiantes como para el profesorado, cuanto la universidad y la sociedad. Por supuesto que será muy interesante tenermos una otra oportunidad en segundo semestre para una discusión como esta, con mucho más otros ejemplos de otras universidades de Latinoamérica. Por ahora, queremos agradecer muchísimo por tu presentación, por tu disposición de contribuir con este seminario.
Muchas gracias
Entonces,
a ustedes por la invitación. Un honor. Muchas gracias.
Ok, muchas gracias. Entonces, estoy pasando para la coordenación.
Sim, obrigado, graças, Rose. Então, poderemos assim seguir para a próxima sessão, sim? Então, vamos a invitar agora o professor Andrés Felipe Osório Muriel. Sí, profesor.
Hola, Cristiano, ¿me escuchas?
Sí, buenas tardes, buenas noches.
Buenas tardes.
Sí. Entonces, profesor Andrés Muriel es del Departamento de Ingeniería Industrial de la Universidad de SESI de Colombia. Entonces, profesor Andrés, la palabra está con usted. Gracias.
Bueno, buenas tardes para todos los que nos escuchan. Un saludo desde Cali, Colombia. Y bueno, esta tarde quiero compartirles lo que ha sido la experiencia de proyectos integrados verticalmente en nuestra universidad. Voy a compartir mi pantalla para iniciar la presentación. ¿Están viendo en este momento mi pantalla? ¿Aló? Ok, creo que sí. Ok, entonces la Universidad ICESI ha adoptado la metodología VIP con algunas características especiales y es lo que quiero contarles un poco esta tarde. Lo primero es que la Universidad ICESI es una universidad privada en Colombia, es una universidad de alto nivel, una universidad de alta calidad académica. De hecho, nuestras facultades cuentan con las acreditaciones mundiales más importantes. La Facultad de Ingeniería tiene una acreditación ABET, la Facultad de Ciencias de la Administración tiene acreditación AMBA, ACSB, y así en términos generales para el resto de facultades y programas. Es una universidad relativamente pequeña, contamos con alrededor de 6.000, 7.000 estudiantes en pregrado y unos 2.500 en posgrados. Tenemos 5 facultades, programas de pregrado, de especialización, de maestría y 2 programas de doctorado. Estamos ubicados en la universidad, en la ciudad de Cali. Cali es la tercera ciudad en tamaño de población en Colombia, después de Bogotá y Medellín. Esta universidad tiene como particularidad una fuerte relación con el sector empresarial. La universidad en sí nació como una escuela de negocios creada por juntas directivas de las organizaciones y fue creciendo a otras facultades, no solo negocios, sino ahora ingeniería, ciencias sociales, pero sigue conservando esa naturaleza de relación con las empresas. Toda la junta directiva de la universidad está conformada principalmente por el sector empresarial de la región. ¿Cómo llegamos a VIP? Entonces, lo primero que pasó fue que invitaron a la universidad a la conferencia, a la reunión anual del consorcio VIP en el año 2018. La universidad recibió esa invitación, envió 2 profesores a conocer de qué se trataba VIP. Dado que nunca habíamos escuchado, hasta ese momento había una universidad en Colombia, que era la Universidad del Norte, que estaba trabajando, hacía parte del consorcio, pero digamos que no se conocía más en Colombia acerca de esto. Entonces, la universidad envió 2 profesores, los profesores conocieron de primera mano de qué se trataba y llegaron con la propuesta a la universidad de adoptar esta filosofía o esta metodología de trabajo. Eso fue relativamente rápido, los profesores viajaron en mayo y en agosto decidimos adoptar el programa y estructuramos la forma como íbamos a implementar esa metodología. Para el mismo agosto ya se habían creado los cursos extracurriculares. Ahora les comento un poco más de cómo tenemos integrado eso en nuestros currículos. Y se habían creado eso y empezaron a aparecer los primeros estudiantes interesados para matricularse. En el mismo agosto tuvimos una visita del profesor Edward Coyle, que es uno de los líderes de los proyectos integrados verticalmente y del consorcio. Y oficialmente en septiembre empezaron los primeros proyectos VIP. ¿Cómo adoptamos nosotros la metodología VIP? Lo hicimos a través de cursos extracurriculares. Estos cursos extracurriculares tienen una particularidad y es que no hacen parte de la malla de ningún programa, pero tienen ciertos créditos académicos. Entonces tenemos 2 cursos que denominamos VIP 1 y VIP 2, de los cuales cada uno tiene un solo crédito académico, y después VIP 3 y VIP 4, que tienen cada uno 2 créditos académicos. Vemos que estos cursos suman 6 créditos. Esos 6 créditos pueden ser homologados por materias selectivas profesionales previa aprobación del director de programa en el cual esté matriculado el estudiante. Pero algo también importante es que quisimos enlazarlo con proyecto de grado. Entonces, digamos que el estudiante que ha visto los 4 cursos, eventualmente entonces puede continuar trabajando su proyecto de grado en el contexto en el que venía trabajando su proyecto VIP. Esto pues es una ventaja para los estudiantes porque no tienen que empezar un proyecto de cero, sino que ya tienen un recorrido, un background, un conocimiento sobre un tema específico, y entonces pues eso facilitará el proceso de su trabajo de grado. Este programa, debo decir que está principalmente o está inicialmente implementado en la Facultad de Ingeniería de la universidad. Ha sido presentado en comités de investigación y ha sido visto con buenos ojos en otras facultades, pero inicialmente pues está estructurado en esta facultad. Nosotros en la universidad tenemos ciertos proyectos. Hubo ciertos proyectos que empezaron como proyectos VIP y por alguna u otra razón no continuaron. Teníamos, por ejemplo, un proyecto que se llamaba SPART. En este proyecto los estudiantes desarrollaban prototipos de robots para desarrollar principalmente tareas de ingeniería industrial. Este proyecto no continuó como VIP, de hecho no continuó como proyecto. Los profesores que estaban liderando este proyecto no continuaron en la universidad, y bueno, esto causó que hubiese cierta desmotivación de los estudiantes, por lo que no continuó el proyecto. Teníamos otro proyecto que era Game Learn, en el cual se desarrollaban lúdicas. La verdad es que este era un proyecto que estaba funcionando desde antes de que se iniciara VIP. Lo que hicimos fue adoptar ese proyecto a la metodología VIP a través de cursos como tal, pero el proyecto venía funcionando. El proyecto también, digamos que cumplió su ciclo, se consiguieron ciertos objetivos y se decidió no continuar con ese proyecto. Y por último, pues hubo un profesor también que inició un proyecto que se llama Radio Definida por Software, en el que estuvo operando 2 semestres, pero el profesor pues también tuvo ciertos inconvenientes y no decidió no continuar con ese proyecto. Contrario a esto, tenemos proyectos que empezaron desde el 2008 y siguen funcionando y siguen vigentes, con, digamos, muy buena acogida de parte de los estudiantes. Uno de los principales proyectos que hemos trabajado es el proyecto Alien. Alien es un proyecto que integra estudiantes de ingeniería industrial, ingeniería de sistemas principalmente, aunque digamos que recientemente hemos estado revisando y vamos a invitar y a integrar otros programas de la Facultad de Ingeniería. Por ejemplo, tenemos un programa de diseño de medios interactivos donde los estudiantes lo que hacen es eso, diseñar interfaces, y creemos que puede ser muy productivo para el proyecto y para los estudiantes esa integración. El segundo proyecto es GoSAP, que es un proyecto inspirado en la plataforma SAP. Ahorita, en un momento, voy a entrar en detalle en estos proyectos, pero este proyecto GoSAP, pues digamos que nace de parte de una alianza de la universidad con la compañía SAP, en la cual ellos ofrecen ciertos módulos, ciertos productos, y la universidad, digamos que para fortalecer la formación de los estudiantes en esta herramienta, lo estructura como un proyecto VIP. Y tenemos un par de proyectos adicionales que les explicaré en breve. El proyecto VIP Alien es un proyecto que nace de la necesidad de encontrar mejores herramientas para enseñar algoritmos, por ejemplo, en ingeniería, y en particular iniciamos con algoritmos de ingeniería industrial. Entonces, lo que decidimos es desarrollar una metodología o proponer un proyecto a largo plazo donde los estudiantes trabajen en conjunto para agregar módulos a una plataforma web, y esta plataforma pues está enfocada en la enseñanza de diferentes algoritmos. Aquí hay un ejemplo, voy a ver si podemos abrir el... Digamos que en este proyecto algo relevante es que los estudiantes de ingeniería industrial ven algunos conceptos de programación, pero son conceptos que no son tan profundos. Ven algunas herramientas en Python, algunas herramientas en Scratch, pero digamos que el nivel de profundidad de esos conocimientos pues no es mucho. Entonces, este proyecto fue muy interesante porque de la mano de estudiantes de Ingeniería Industrial y Ingeniería de Sistemas pudieron integrarse y desarrollar esta plataforma para usarla nosotros, de hecho no solo nosotros, sino otras universidades que han empezado a usarla para enseñar los algoritmos. Entonces, no es competir con una herramienta comercial, sino crear una herramienta para explicar, por ejemplo, el paso a paso de cómo funcionan los algoritmos. En este proyecto hemos tenido, ya viene funcionando más o menos 7 semestres, 7, 8 semestres, y pues hemos tenido diferentes números de estudiantes. Entonces, cuando arrancamos eran 3 estudiantes, el siguiente semestre tuvimos 20 estudiantes y así hemos, digamos, variado, fluctuado entre unos 14 y 20 estudiantes. Los años del año pasado y el año antepasado, que fueron años de pandemia, digamos, donde hubo los confinamientos, hubo estas cuarentenas que llaman, pues fue retante porque se trataba de mantener el interés de los estudiantes en este proyecto, un proyecto que es casi que voluntario, si bien ellos están matriculados, pues es parte también de esa voluntad de querer aprender más. Entonces ahí en esos 2021 tuvimos algunos retos importantes. Los estudiantes en su mayoría, bueno, ingresan a VIP 1, VIP 2. En realidad han sido pocos los estudiantes que logran hacer los 4 semestres. Y es que aquí hay algo importante, es que como estos proyectos tienen créditos, estos cursos tienen créditos, pues los estudiantes no siempre tienen la disponibilidad de los créditos para poder matricular estos cursos. Claro, nosotros les damos la opción de que igual participen en el proyecto, así no tengan créditos, pero pues esto no se les va a reflejar en su balance académico, entonces pues algunos deciden no continuar. Pero incluso hemos tenido estudiantes que deciden seguir participando en el proyecto independientemente de si están matriculados o no. Estudiantes que dicen, profesor, yo no tengo créditos este semestre, pero yo estoy entusiasmado con el proyecto, quiero continuar. Y para nosotros es fenomenal que quieran seguir en el proyecto y más aún cuando lo están haciendo de una forma altruista completamente. En este proyecto pues hemos tenido más o menos 131 estudiantes que han pasado por alguno de los módulos de VIP. Yo les comentaba entonces que este proyecto pues, se trata de una plataforma. Este proyecto ha sido presentado en diferentes conferencias principalmente del área de investigación de operaciones en Colombia y ha sido acogido por la comunidad de investigación de operaciones porque han encontrado muy útil la forma como se estructuran los módulos para poder ellos enseñar sus cursos. Hemos realmente sido tímidos también mostrando esto, pero creemos que es un buen producto y queremos salir a mostrarlo y a seguir invitando a las personas para que lo usen. Hasta este momento nosotros tenemos unos módulos, digamos que son los módulos de académicos que inicialmente están enfocados principalmente en ingeniería industrial, pero recientemente hemos empezado a desarrollar módulos de ciencia de datos. Entonces, para cada uno de estos temas, estos son los algoritmos que hemos implementado y que ya en su mayoría están disponibles en la plataforma. Y de ciencia de datos, pues ya hay algunos también disponibles y hay otros que están en un estado muy avanzado en el que esperamos tenerlos o publicarlos a mediados de junio o julio. Hemos participado también en una conferencia, digamos que Cristiano hizo parte también de la conferencia. Aquí contando un poco cómo ha sido la experiencia en la universidad, participación en diferentes eventos académicos, mostrando los resultados. Y pues para nosotros algo muy importante es los testimonios y digamos la opinión de los estudiantes que han pasado por los proyectos VIP. Entonces, algunos estudiantes manifiestan que que durante VIP encontraron como el área en el que se querían enfocar. Este es uno de los testimonios. Él dice, mire, yo en este momento ya me gradué, soy profesional, pero cuando estaba en VIP encontré que a lo que quería dedicarme era hacer desarrollo en front-end. Y eso lo aprendí principalmente en VIP, en semestres muy tempranos en mi carrera. Yo en ese momento estaba aprendiendo cosas que mis compañeros irían a aprender en noveno o décimo semestre. Entonces eso me permitió afianzar muchísimo esos conocimientos y hoy por hoy me dedico a eso. Claudia es otra estudiante que es una estudiante de ingeniería industrial. Como les decía, pues los conocimientos de ellos en programación son no muy profundos, pero Claudia integró y aprendió programación y digamos que buena parte de las interfaces que usamos en nuestra plataforma fueron desarrolladas por Claudia, haciendo algo que no hace parte de su formación inicial como ingeniera industrial. Entonces, para nosotros pues es muy satisfactorio escuchar a los estudiantes dando ese tipo de testimonios. Un testimonio más de un estudiante de ingeniería de sistemas. Nuevamente, algo que resalta mucho es el aprender a trabajar en equipo y aprender a trabajar en equipo con personas que no tienen su misma disciplina. Por ejemplo, hablar entre los mismos ingenieros de sistemas pues es fácil, ellos tienen el mismo lenguaje. Sin embargo, cuando tienen que explicar cosas técnicas a personas de otras disciplinas, pues no es tan fácil, y esas son un tipo de habilidades que ellos desarrollan durante su participación en estos proyectos VIP. El siguiente programa, el siguiente proyecto lo llamamos VIP Goes Up. Como les decía, la universidad pertenece a algo que se llama University Alliances de la herramienta SAP. No sé si para todos es claro que SAP es una herramienta, pero fue inicialmente un ERP, un Enterprise Resource Planning, una herramienta que usan las organizaciones para planear, es como el corazón del software en las organizaciones, donde controlan las compras, la producción, las ventas, la distribución, los inventarios, es digamos el core de una organización. Pero recientemente SAP también ha empezado a participar y a tener otro tipo de herramientas. Por ejemplo, SAP ya tiene SAP Analytics, digamos que todo un módulo para desarrollar analíticas predictivas y análisis de datos. Tiene también herramientas de visualización de datos. Todo esto está integrado en una plataforma que se llama S4HANA. Entonces, la universidad, como parte de ese convenio, tiene acceso a estas plataformas y lo que queríamos era, pues, digamos, aprovechar de la mejor forma esta alianza. Entonces, para esto, nosotros invitamos a un profesor de una universidad peruana que ya lleva mucho tiempo trabajando con SAP y que tiene muy buen recorrido. Y este profesor, pues, estuvo unas 2 semanas aquí capacitándonos en los diferentes módulos de la herramienta. Este proyecto ha tenido también, digamos, fluctuaciones más grandes en términos del número de estudiantes. Los semestres de pandemia fueron semestres difíciles, semestres donde pues la motivación de los estudiantes cayó, la motivación de los profesores también cayó. Y bueno, hace poco tiempo le decía yo a Julie del consorcio que a nosotros nos había pasado eso, y me decía, bueno, eso no les pasó solo a ustedes, eso pasó en todas las universidades de todo el mundo. Entonces, digamos que eso nos dio un poco de tranquilidad, porque sí nos preocupaban un poco los números. En este caso, pues el proyecto continúa funcionando, los estudiantes continúan aprendiendo los módulos y de este proyecto han surgido cosas bien interesantes. En los diferentes semestres los estudiantes se enfocan a diferentes proyectos y aquí quiero resaltar algunos. Por ejemplo, en el primer semestre del 2020 los estudiantes trabajaron de la mano con una de hecho es con la mejor clínica de Colombia, que se llama la Fundación Valle del Lili. Es una clínica muy prestigiosa, muy reconocida, y con uno de los pediatras en particular. El pediatra decía, mire, los papás me hacen consultas por WhatsApp. Y es válido, digamos que muchos papás lo hacemos. El problema con eso es que no quedaba ninguna trazabilidad de esas consultas. No quedaba ni en el software de la organización ni en ninguna parte. Entonces los estudiantes utilizaron uno de los módulos de SAP para desarrollar un prototipo de una aplicación para tratar de capturar esa información de consultas informales e integrarla con la plataforma. Eso fue un trabajo que involucró los estudiantes, los profesores, el equipo médico de la fundación, los pediatras e inclusive los papás de los niños. Fue un proyecto exitoso y digamos que lograron un producto que presentar. Después han utilizado otras herramientas, otros módulos de SAP para hacer diferentes cosas, para desarrollar proyectos enfocados a los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible de la ONU, para mejorar las prácticas dentro de los cursos de ingeniería industrial utilizando las herramientas. Entonces ese ha sido otro reto importante. ¿Cómo podemos apalancar la docencia, la enseñanza a partir de estas herramientas que tenemos disponibles? Claramente la enseñanza nuestra no es enfocada solo en SAP, pero sí es una herramienta muy importante. Y aquí vale resaltar algo, y es que las empresas de la región le solicitan a la universidad estudiantes mejor formados en estas tecnologías. Entonces, digamos que eso es parte de la motivación del VIP, poder integrar y darle ese plus a los estudiantes a la hora que salgan a una organización. Los estudiantes que han participado aquí pues han obtenido también certificaciones como tal, han hecho cursos adicionales que les han permitido obtener títulos y certificados que pueden poner en sus hojas de vida. De hecho, pues aquí también hay testimonios de los estudiantes diciendo que las herramientas que han aprendido en este proyecto en VIP pues no las hubieran aprendido de ninguna otra forma en la carrera. Digamos que el hecho, por ejemplo, de SAP se incluyen algunas cosas dentro de los cursos, pero no al nivel que los estudiantes que han participado en este proyecto pueden desarrollar. Finalmente, tenemos un último proyecto. Digamos que este proyecto ha tenido como dos fases. Está enfocado ligeramente a lo mismo, pero ha tenido como dos fases. La primera parte se llamaba Avión Simulab, y en este caso, en este proyecto, los estudiantes y los profesores trabajaban de la mano con con la empresa de transporte masivo en la ciudad. La empresa de transporte masivo, nosotros tenemos un sistema de buses articulados que de hecho fue adoptado del sistema que hay en Curitiba. Pero bien, estos buses articulados pues estaban generando una cantidad de datos, de tiempos, de distancias, de recorridos, de paradas, de personas ingresando, y estos datos pues no estaban siendo analizados. Entonces, en ese proyecto VIP lo que se trabajó fue crear unos gemelos digitales o unos modelos de simulación que permitieran apoyar la toma de decisiones a la empresa de transporte masivo. Para esto, pues los estudiantes obviamente tuvieron que hacer un análisis profundo y exploratorio de esos datos que tenía la organización para poder construir esos modelos de simulación. Una vez estuvieran los modelos de simulación, pues obviamente había que validarlos y entregar a la organización para toma de decisiones. Este proyecto tenía en promedio entre 6 y 11 estudiantes cada semestre. Y algo importante es que también participaron estudiantes de maestría y unos estudiantes en una de las aplicaciones de la experimentación, 2 estudiantes de doctorado de Canadá, de los cuales un profesor de aquí de la universidad, pues es cotutor de ellos. Entonces ellos hicieron parte de esa experimentación con los modelos de simulación que se habían desarrollado, y de esa experiencia y de esos modelos pues se publicaron 2 artículos de categoría Q1 en revistas de la IEEE. Ese proyecto se terminó, digamos que fue un proyecto exitoso, se terminó porque aquí en la ciudad de Cali hubo un paro social, una crisis social muy fuerte hace un año. Entonces hubo bloqueos en toda la ciudad, los buses no podían salir, las personas también estaban casi que confinadas en sus casas porque en la ciudad habían diferentes bloqueos y no había forma de acceder. El sistema de transporte masivo, el sistema de transporte fue vandalizado casi en un 90%, destruyeron buses, destruyeron estaciones. Entonces, ya en este momento se ha reconstruido prácticamente todo y está funcionando al mismo nivel de antes de que ocurriera eso. Pero eso hizo parte de que una de las empresas con que estaban trabajando, pues la empresa se quebrara. Y básicamente las personas que estaban en ese momento no continuaron en la empresa, por lo que el proyecto, a pesar de que ya se había tenido un buen desarrollo, pues no continuó. Sin embargo, pues se alcanzó a entregar el producto a la empresa, se alcanzó a usar y bueno, en algún momento supongo que se retomará esa relación. Después de eso, como evoluciona ese proyecto, nace un proyecto para desarrollar o para utilizar o acercar conceptos de Industria 4.0. Nosotros en la universidad tenemos un programa de ingeniería bioquímica. Ese programa de ingeniería bioquímica, pues digamos que su principal laboratorio es una planta piloto. Una planta piloto donde se pueden desarrollar los principales procesos bioquímicos, fermentación y bueno, otras cosas. Entonces este proyecto está enfocado a aprovechar esta planta piloto y aprovechar la ingeniería de software, la ingeniería de sistemas, para desarrollar herramientas de Industria 4.0. En este momento están en proceso de levantamiento de datos, cómo conectar sensores a estos equipos para producir información y software y código para poder leer esa información y construir ya a partir de esa información modelos digitales o modelos de simulación. También involucra obviamente Internet de las Cosas, para la transmisión de estos datos y bueno, en términos generales. La idea es desarrollar esos modelos de simulación o modelos de gemelos digitales para poder tomar decisiones sobre esas plantas, ¿sí? Decisiones de planeación, de producción, decisiones de control y en términos generales, pues digamos que todo lo que involucra esos procesos de ingeniería bioquímica. ¿Qué sigue y qué sentimos que nos hace falta en la Universidad ICESI? Bueno, lo primero es que no tenemos un sitio web VIP donde se integren todos los proyectos. Digamos que eso es algo relativamente sencillo, pero no tenemos. Primero estábamos alojados en la página del consorcio VIP, pero esto pues no continuó, entonces pues cada universidad desarrolla su sitio web. Nosotros tenemos ya algunas cosas, pero no está terminado el sitio web. Eventos de divulgación de resultados, nosotros hacemos un cierre donde mostramos los resultados, pero entre los alumnos de VIP. Es decir, nos juntamos los proyectos y decimos, mostramos, hicimos esto, obtuvimos esto, pero es, digamos que entre integrantes de VIP. Entonces, sentimos pues, que hace falta mostrar esos resultados a nivel universidad y a nivel local en diferentes conferencias porque pues, los resultados han sido muy buenos. Entonces, pues esto también ayuda a motivar a otros profesores y a que puedan utilizar VIP como vehículo para el desarrollo de sus proyectos de investigación y, bueno, sus ideas como tal. Algunos profesores no conocen la iniciativa, de hecho, pues han entrado profesores nuevos a la facultad y a la universidad y esos profesores han encontrado esto pues muy bueno, pero no conocen cómo empezar o cómo empezar a desarrollar estos proyectos. Entonces, es parte de nosotros, es responsabilidad de nosotros como profesores que ya hemos venido trabajando en VIP, ayudarles a empezar estos proyectos. Hace una semana, pues tuvimos una reunión de toda la facultad donde mostramos estos resultados, y digamos que parte de lo que nos dicen los directivos es eso, o sea, deben empezar a involucrar mucha más gente, porque de hecho la universidad se va a volcar mucho a este tipo de experiencias de aprendizaje, a todo lo que es aprendizaje basado en problemas, aprendizaje basado en proyectos, a fortalecer los vínculos con las empresas de la región, y para eso VIP es la estrategia perfecta, para juntar profesores, estudiantes, empresas de la región, bajo ese modelo de aprendizaje basado en proyectos. Entonces, es una directriz y es una prioridad para la universidad desarrollar este tipo de estrategias. Entonces, es parte de lo que nos han dicho. Integración con empresas, si bien en los diferentes proyectos hemos trabajado, como les decía, trabajamos con la Fundación Valle de Lili, con la empresa del sistema de transporte masivo, pues todavía sentimos que hay mucho espacio para trabajar. Esta universidad tiene una relación muy cercana con la industria. El rector, que está posesionado hace 4 o 5 meses, antes era el presidente de la Cámara de Comercio de la ciudad, de la región. Entonces tiene muchísima relación con las empresas. Y pues para nosotros eso es un plus, porque podríamos eventualmente también conseguir financiación por parte de estas empresas. Entonces se trata de buscar un gana-gana. La universidad pone los profesores, pone los estudiantes, la estructura, pero la empresa puede entonces también patrocinar con ciertos elementos, ciertas cosas de laboratorio, cierto software, para poder desarrollar estos proyectos que convienen a ambas partes. Y pues bueno, muchas gracias. Muy obrigado. Es lo que quería compartirles hoy en esta tarde como experiencia VIP en la Universidad de Isensi.
Gracias, profesor Andrés. Tenemos aquí una pregunta del chat que ya voy a empezar por ella. Aquí entonces es del secretario de Desarrollo y Turismo de nuestra ciudad aquí. El secretario entendió que los proyectos van más allá de un semestre y que el número de estudiantes varía. ¿Cómo es la gestión del proyecto con los cambios en el grupo?
Sí, digamos que nosotros tenemos cuatro cursos VIP, y los estudiantes pueden seguir de un proyecto a otro. Algo importante del proyecto es que son proyectos a largo plazo, y nosotros cada semestre formamos grupos de estudiantes que trabajan módulos. Entonces, si 5 estudiantes están trabajando en este módulo, pues puede que los estudiantes no sigan, alguno de los estudiantes no siga el siguiente semestre, o puede que sigan los 5 y entre personas nuevas al grupo. Entonces, lo que se trata de mantener es la idea del módulo, y que si hay rotación, pues no se cambien todos los estudiantes, todos los integrantes, para que pueda haber una continuidad de ese trabajo. Claramente, todos los semestres entran estudiantes nuevos y algunos salen por diferentes razones, porque no tienen créditos, porque no quieren seguir el proyecto, o porque simplemente ya están, digamos, de cara a salir a su práctica en la industria. Entonces, pero sí hay una continuidad de los proyectos, y hay digamos, buscamos que se mantenga algunos estudiantes antiguos con los nuevos que entran para poder seguir desarrollándolo.
¿Y hay algún sistema de gestión de la información que ustedes también lo manejan?
Para los proyectos, no. Lo que usamos, nos apoyamos es en el software, en la aplicación de matrículas de la universidad. Digamos que en el curso. Estos son cursos oficiales, cursos que se crean en la universidad, que tienen créditos y que los estudiantes se matriculan. que cuando los estudiantes al final piden su balance de materias, les aparecen ahí. Entonces, digamos que para mantener oficialmente el registro de los estudiantes, ya para las reuniones, pues hemos utilizado diferentes estrategias, Zoom, Discord, para poder, por lo menos en la pandemia, Discord fue una de las herramientas principales para poder reunirnos y trabajar en los diferentes módulos.
Vale. El profesor Eduard Coe, en el empiezo de nuestro evento hoy, él ha mostrado un slide que había así un gráfico en que algunos de los programas VIP son encabezados por la dirección y otros por profesores. En Colombia, ¿cómo esto se maneja? ¿Hay un estímulo así de la dirección para que lo hagan los proyectos o es iniciativas así aisladas?
Son proyectos independientes, digamos que los profesores tienen sus intereses de investigación y proponen ese proyecto. El estímulo pues es básicamente descarga en términos de cantidad de cursos que deben enseñar cada semestre y pues poder desarrollar sus proyectos de investigación. Digamos que la prioridad o la directriz de la universidad es a fortalecer esto y más ahora que quieren acercarse mucho a las empresas. Entonces, si bien no hay una directriz sobre qué proyecto desarrollar, sí nos invitan todo el tiempo a reuniones con empresas. Dicen, mire, hoy va a venir esta empresa que se dedica a esto. Los profesores, por favor, pueden atender. De ahí, entonces, revisamos qué proyectos se pueden desarrollar en conjunto.
Vale. Sí, muchas gracias. Entonces, creo que, no sé si tenemos todavía... sí, tenemos más una pregunta aquí. En los proyectos con las empresas, ¿hay algún tipo de acuerdo económico? ¿Y cómo se organiza el proyecto? ¿Por contrato, acuerdos o convenios?
Sí, digamos que cuando cuando hay algún proyecto con una empresa, se puede plantear un proyecto de investigación aplicado. Se puede hacer un contrato porque eventualmente hay temas de confidencialidad de las organizaciones. Entonces, normalmente se firma un contrato y en términos de apoyo económico, pues todo eso se negocia dependiendo de los objetivos que se quieran. Entonces, a veces las organizaciones puede que no den dinero, pero puede que donen computadores a la universidad o que donen equipos para el laboratorio. Entonces, esa es como la forma de llegar a ese acuerdo. Y pues todo eso se deja explícito en un contrato de trabajo.
Sí, muy bueno. Sí, creo que podremos entonces encerrar esta sesión y tenemos ahí más algunos minutos más para un debate aquí con los profesores que han participado de esta tarde y también, aunque nosotros vamos hablando y platicando, podremos todavía recibir nuevas cuestiones aquí en el chat. ¿Sí? ¿Se puede hacer así? Entonces pediría también para poner ahí el vivo el profesor Edmundo, el profesor Aníbal, con los cuales el profesor Paulo Ignacio, no sé si está ahí todavía. Lo que es bacana aquí, tenemos que, lo que es bueno aquí es que nosotros todos juntos, estuvimos en un artículo científico ahora del I3E, ¿sí? En que Julie and we presented en esta conferencia y nosotros no nos conocíamos todavía, ¿sí? ¿No? Y aquí hay una posibilidad de hacerlo. Entonces creo que podremos empezar ahí a platicar más y podemos hablar aquí en portugués o en español, ¿no? Professor Edmundo, gostaria de começar?
Boa tarde a todos. Eu gostaria de perguntar para o professor Jorge, como também em Santiago há uma forte concentração de boas universidades particulares também, principalmente de negócios, como que é essa relação, ou se há a possibilidade do programa VIP aí no Chile terem participações das universidades públicas e particulares, se houve algum trabalho conjunto entre vocês.
Muchas gracias por la pregunta. Yo tengo un conocimiento que son 2 las universidades en Chile que tienen los VIP. La Universidad de Chile, la universidad más antigua, pública, más prestigiosa y tradicional de nuestro país, que tiene los proyectos VIP, particularmente en arquitectura, y además la Universidad Mayor, que nació por el contacto con Edward Coy. Hemos tenido presentaciones, hemos tenido apertura a otros académicos, a otras universidades, pero el proyecto VIP no es que nosotros lideremos el esfuerzo nacional para que más universidades tengan, sino que hemos estado en estos 2 años tratando de solidificar nuestra propia identidad como proyectos VIP, y yo creo que en un futuro poder integrar al resto de las universidades. Y estos eventos, por ejemplo, el que organizó el profesor Morini, o el que le estoy pidiendo que hagamos próximamente el otro semestre o el próximo año, puedan dar pie, dado que ya estamos volviendo a la presencialidad y está todo un poco más normal, de pie a que más universidades se interesen en la estructura y en la iniciativa VIP. Pero actualmente, sea universidad privada o sea universidad pública, yo creo que VIP es un tremendo proyecto. Universidad de Chile es una universidad pública y además tradicional, que son categorías distintas en Chile. La Universidad Mayor no es tradicional y es privada, no es pública, y tiene el proyecto VIP y mucho más desarrollado que la Universidad de Chile. Y ahora con la nueva reestructuración estamos enfocándolo más en investigación, lo cual debería dar más pie para seguir desarrollando este proyecto. Pero yo feliz de poder dar a conocer el ambiente latinoamericano acá en nuestro país para que más universidades se unan, porque yo como investigador creo en el proyecto VIP como algo fundamental para los estudiantes. Yo conocí la investigación en mi Master of Science. Antes de eso no conocí investigación. Así que, gracias, professor Edmundo.
Eu gostaria de fazer, se me permite, Cristiano, Aníbal, né, e a plateia do YouTube também, só mais uma pergunta, tanto ao Jorge como ao professor Andrés. É possível, né, na Unicamp, se nós tivermos memorando of understanding, de conseguirmos fazer formalmente um VIP em que nossos alunos, por dentro de nossas 3 universidades, pudessem cursar e resolver um problema juntos durante um semestre, e que esses créditos fossem computados, né, nos seus respectivos currículos, nos seus respectivos históricos. Então, eu gostaria de saber se um desafio desse, né, se seria de interesse de vocês para a gente conseguir avançar nas questões formais, né, burocráticas de cada uma das nossas universidades. Morini, se você quiser traduzir para ficar mais claro, não sei se eles entenderam meu português.
Sí, creo que sí. ¿Comprendieron la pregunta?
Creo.
Yo no.
Sí, para avanzar así en la investigación conjunta de nosotros, si pudiéramos identificar algunos temas en comunes para que pudiera nosotros investigar y quizá hacer un convenio de cooperación así que se pueda ayudar efectivamente en la cooperación en términos de investigación y publicación.
Yo creo que el objetivo más concreto por el cual nosotros nos podríamos unir como instituciones son los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Creo que los 17 objetivos nos dan una variedad enorme para poder colaborar con una agenda clara, incluso con un deadline 2030, para poder colaborar como instituciones de manera internacional con un framework común, que además está validado por la ONU. Entonces, esa es mi opinión. No sé, Andrés, profesor Andrés.
Yo estoy de acuerdo con el profesor Jorge, y algo que creo que podría ayudar inicialmente a establecer este tipo de relaciones es plantear algunos retos en común para todas las universidades, estilo hackathons. Este tipo de encuentros, de espacios, son muy útiles y digamos que ahora todos hemos aprendido a utilizar la virtualidad, entonces creo que podría ser una oportunidad muy interesante para conocernos, para poner a los estudiantes a pensar en cosas en común y empezar a generar un marco de trabajo.
Entonces, tenemos ahí algo a empezar, ¿no? Los 17 objetivos son bastantes, sí, hay mucha cosa por hacerlo, ¿no? Y podremos ahí empezar en algunos de ellos. El profesor Aníbal y el profesor Andrés creo que también los dos tienen mucha similaridad en la investigación, porque el profesor Aníbal ministra aquí en Brasil asuntos de programación, Python. Creio que também se pode dizer, não, Aníbal?
Eu acho que seria interessante. Comente lá para a participação dos estudantes antes e depois do VIP, e se necessário, e se é necessário adaptar algum dos planos de estudo. Andrés?
Sí, digamos que nosotros no adaptamos los programas propiamente porque cada uno de los programas tienen materias selectivas. Entonces, son los directores de programa que miran el trabajo que el estudiante ha hecho en todo el proyecto VIP y deciden homologar estas materias selectivas. Pero entonces, esas materias selectivas, pues a un estudiante de ingeniería de sistemas se lo homologarán por una de sistemas, a un estudiante en ingeniería industrial se le homologará por una de ingeniería industrial. Digamos que al principio fue retante, fue un aprendizaje porque los estudiantes de ingeniería industrial tenían que aprender conceptos de programación y los estudiantes de ingeniería de sistemas tenían que aprender conceptos de ingeniería industrial, cosas de optimización, cosas de planeación de producción. Entonces, al principio fue retante. Una vez ya se consiguen este conocimiento en común, el proyecto fluye mucho mejor.
Sí, gracias.
Yo quisiera preguntar a los profesores cuál fue su experiencia durante la pandemia. Supongo que tanto en Brasil como en Chile, pues hubo estos confinamientos. Entonces, pues yo les comentaba ahorita en la charla que para nosotros fue muy retante, pero quisiera escuchar a ustedes cómo les fue, particularmente con esto.
Jorge, ¿puede empezar?
Sí. Nosotros partimos el 2019 con los proyectos VIP. Recién teníamos 3. Al año siguiente se vino la pandemia, entonces todo nuestro desarrollo VIP ha sido en pandemia. El año 2020 y el año 2021 son los 2 años que han habido 10, 30 cursos, la mayoría de los estudiantes. Entonces todo ha sido online. Y ahora este semestre, por la reestructuración universitaria, estamos congelados. Y este semestre es efectivamente... y que ahora que vuelve la presencialidad tenemos que ver si efectivamente vamos a volver con los VIP y que los alumnos puedan disfrutar de los cursos, pero de manera presencial.
Su habla podría ser la mía, es lo mismo. Tuvimos ahí 2 años de experiencia con el VIP 2021 y lo que fue bueno es que nosotros estamos en una ciudad del interior de São Paulo y con la enseñanza online pudiéramos tener ahí estudiantes de otras ciudades que pudieron participar y que así fue para nós, fue una buena experiencia en que se estimuló la diversidad de cursos, alumnos, formación con el ensino online. Ahora que volvemos al presencial, todavía estamos evaluando un nuevo ofrecimiento de la disciplina y probablemente ahí la diversidad no sea tan grande cuanto ocurrió durante la pandemia. Não sei se Aníbal ou Edmundo querem complementar algo.
Lo más difícil fue manter el compromiso inicial. Los estudiantes achar lo formato correcto. It was very difficult to find the right format, the right way to communicate the ideas. This was the main challenge of the pandemics.
And to stimulate the participation of the students, doing online, it's different than doing face-to-face.
What kind of strategies do you use to keep the motivation? It was just for grading, or just for motivation of the project? Do you use any other strategy?
Aníbal, to answer it.
We try to use some Python using Google Colab because they could build their notebooks. They could build their activities from the beginning, and we use a lot of maps. For example, we have some activities that use maps, and you can build maps using Google Colab with 2 lines. So it's very quick to build beautiful things or to building some intriguing things. Using Google Colab with 2 lines, you can build a very wonderful map, for example. And okay. Thank you, Professor Jorge Salas. Thank you for your participation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have to leave, but it was an amazing presentation. Thank you for gathering us all together. Muchas gracias y nos estamos viendo pronto. Éxito.
Sí, muchas gracias, sí. Y vale. Yo creo que...
Thank you.
Por favor, amigo.
Yes. So to make the people engaged was a kind of, okay, so we have to produce some videos. Remember that we have an international competition on VAPI, and this was also a very interesting idea to build something to present in an international competition. So you are building not something that no one will not care about. This is very important, and it can be presented in an international competition. So this is also an important reason of the engagements of the students.
Are you still remote? Do you have the remote classes, or you're just face-to-face, in-person classes again?
We came back to face-to-face.
Okay.
This year.
And do you find students more motivated and in the BAP projects just being in person?
This semester we are not taking these classes, VIP classes. We are not taking. We are in a period of evaluation for what we have done. in the last 2 years. But in general, yes, I think so. Yes, in general, people are starting being more motivated in face-to-face. I don't know if you, Paulo, what do you think?
I believe that face-to-face is much better to have performance in this kind of project. We had an experience with the final work in the engineering program related to distance problem, solving remote problem. And sometimes it's very difficult to get data, to use this data to simulate something. You can do this, but it's not the same. When you are in the real life, real problem, seeing the problem, getting the things, work on the data, you can have more results. That's what I think. So this year, I guess we will improve the results of this experience in the final work. And I believe the VIP can contribute to that. I see this as a great project to engage students, as Aníbal said, different way to solve some problem, public problem, private problem, real problem that students can go to use their knowledge, to use their learning, and try to get experience to do that. I realize that this experience make the students much better to go to the market to get some competitive way to even to become an entrepreneur in order to open different business or to change different business. I guess I guess because I'm not sure that this year we improve better having these students together in presence and face to face.
Morini, acho que tem uma pergunta do chat do YouTube, da Mabel, perguntando sobre se o programa, né, a pessoa que participa do programa gera algum documento, algum entregável ao final, algum registro de atividades ou lições aprendidas. Você quer comentar um pouquinho sobre isso?
Pode falar.
Obrigado pela pergunta, Mabel. Depois a gente pode direcionar essa pergunta para o Andrés também responder. No caso específico desses 2 anos da Unicamp, né, a gente tentou formas também diferentes de avaliar o aluno para que ele pudesse ter essa motivação, né, manter essa motivação ao longo das 15 semanas que compõem o nosso semestre letivo. Então, um problema grande, né, um aprendizado baseado num problema era relacionado a empreendedorismo e indicadores de sustentabilidade. A gente procurava quebrar esse problema grande em 4 ou 5 pequenas etapas. Essas 4 ou 5 pequenas etapas eram distribuídas entre grupos de 5 a 6 estudantes, dos 20, 16 que eram matriculados. Eles faziam alguns exercícios de brainstorm, de conhecimento, para que a gente pudesse montar uma equipe multidisciplinar, tanto de cursos diferentes como de níveis diferentes, né? Juntar aluno de graduação, pós-graduação, alunos que vinham da engenharia, administração, enfermagem, teve aluno da medicina. E aí eles trabalhavam semana a semana tentando ir construindo esses bloquinhos de saberes, né? Como o professor Paulo disse. Então, eles entraram no site do IBGE, no caso brasileiro, nosso Instituto de Geografia e Estatística, abaixavam os dados brutos, aí tinham que integrar isso em uma planilha eletrônica, aí depois tinham que fazer algumas tabulações com estatísticas descritivas, aí depois tinham que avançar, usar alguma técnica de análise multivariada para tentar ver alguma informação, correlação, associação. Depois avançava mais um pouquinho, analisava algum método de apoio à decisão, multicritério, para tentar ranquear ou classificar os elementos, que no nosso caso eram as cidades com rankings, com indicadores sobre empreendedorismo e sustentabilidade. Aí fazia um mapeamento qualitativos nos sites de cada município para verificar o que tipo de política, fomento, apoio, norma, legislação, decreto aquela cidade tinha em relação a essas atividades. E em alguns momentos entregavam sim trabalhos escritos, cursos sintéticos, mas a gente premiava mais a produção final do vídeo, porque esse vídeo ele pode ser integrado na competição internacional. Então, eles produzem um vídeo igual um elevator pitch, né, de 3 minutos, de 3 a 4 minutos, em que eles expõem, né, o problema, como foi investigado, como foi analisado, como foi endereçada a solução, as sugestões, e fazem essa apresentação como se fosse, né, no formato de empreendedorismo, de hackathon, de elevator pitch. E das nossas equipes, nesses 4 anos, chegou a ficar entre as 6 finalistas mundial. Não ficou entre as 3 primeiras, foram outras equipes que ganharam, mas entre as 6 que foram classificadas, ficou com um vídeo bem interessante, que acho que depois a gente pode, inclusive está no nosso site, acho que o Aníbal pode colocar o link do site. Acho que ele é público o site, né, Aníbal? É público o site do VIP, acho que o vídeo está lá.
Sim.
É um pouco isso. Obrigado. Você traduz para o André como que seria a experiência do processo avaliativo da disciplina dele, do VIP dele?
Sí, creo que entendí la pregunta. ¿Cómo es el proceso de evaluación de nuestros cursos VIP, de nuestros proyectos VIP?
Sí, exacto.
Nosotros tenemos, bueno, cada estudiante, los estudiantes trabajan en proyectos, en módulos, y hay 3 diferentes como entregables. Hacen una presentación del avance a mitad de semestre, en la semana 8 más o menos, de que han hecho. Después, en la semana 16, hacen una presentación del avance, pero también hay un entregable final que es el módulo, la implementación, el código que han desarrollado. Entonces, para las presentaciones, nosotros tenemos un panel de profesores que cada uno da la evaluación de ese avance en la semana 8, en la semana 16, y también entonces pues está la evaluación del módulo, del código, del software que hacen. Son principalmente estos 3 momentos de evaluação.
Acho que é importante comentar, Maurício, que nós fizemos isso também nos 4 semestres. A gente inseriu a avaliação, né, usando o nome que o mercado usa, né, de negócios, a avaliação 360 graus, né, que os próprios alunos avaliavam todos os demais outros alunos. Não só o do grupo, principalmente o do grupo do qual ele participava, como também os demais, em relação à atitude, proatividade, trabalho em equipe, e demais itens assim que nós julgamos ser boas atitudes, comportamentos para trabalho em grupo produtivo, de equipes de alta performance.
Sim. E amanhã, André, apresentaremos aqui, às 2 horas, a experiência do projeto VIP em Unicamp. E está invitado para participar também, sim. Muitas graças. Sim.
Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado também. E acho que podemos encerrar. E queria agradecer muito aí a presença de todos. Professor Paulo, professor Aníbal, professor Edmundo, professor André.
Muito obrigado, eu agradeço.
Muito obrigado.
Então, até mais.
Beleza.
Tchau, tchau.
Obrigado.
Tchau, tchau.
Tchau.